Two, check. Hello. 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 What is up? What's going on? Only 3 more months till I can wear my TRRS hoodie. I've been going all summer. In the evenings. An evening hoodie guy. It gets chilly. You throw in a hoodie and a pair of shorts. That's very comfortable, even when it's warm out. That's very comfortable at any temperature. Any climb. The hoodie and shorts look is always gonna be okay. What is up, everybody? Hello. I'm seeing already again, certain members of this community, without naming names, still doubting me. Still don't think that I could defeat a tiny, measly little fucking bird. Unbelievable. Like, it's honestly, I feel like you're getting together in some kind of side DM or some kind of side chat and going over this just to mess with me because it's ridiculous. The people are really going wild for Goose Discourse. I've really started something here. I think a Rob versus Goose like merch drop could actually be quite funny. And Sean's there talking about my arms, my apparent broken arms from fighting one of these small animals. And listen, the question is not who's going to be injured or not. Two creatures enter the battle zone or whatever, the ring, the fight pit. Who's walking out? Is it me or the goose? That's the question. It's a fight to the death. You really don't think I can handle myself in that situation, Sean? You don't think that I can handle myself in that situation?
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
The goose will.
I do not think that. No, Jesus Christ. Sam, thank you very much for the 17 months of Tier 1. Thank you, Sam. Curse Sam Cider. Side DM? That's crazy, man. What an idea. Where does he come up with this? I've got such a side, and people were sending me videos. Look, this guy tried to fight a goose. Look at him. All these people in these videos, terrible technique. Absolutely terrible technique. And these people, these so-called people that are fighting these geese in these viral videos, they're just trying to they're trying not to get hurt. Okay? They're not trying to take the goose on. Okay? They're just trying to walk out of there without getting hassled by a bird. When the big bopper said that he feels all loose like a long-necked goose, he was implying that his power level was over 5,000. Yes, and I feel the same way. Imagine you're a goose. You wake up, stretch your big neck, spread your wings, ready to start the day, and you're faced with this picture of terror. Exactly. They wouldn't know what to make of that. Why do you think you'd have a killer instinct? Where do you think that cold hatred comes from? Listen, Sean, as I outlined repeatedly yesterday, okay? As I outlined repeatedly, I don't want to have to fight a goose or any other kind of animal, any person. I don't. I'm simply saying, in this hypothetical scenario in which I had to defend my life against a goose, I'm simply saying that I could defeat the goose easily. I would like to avoid that situation. I don't want to be in that situation. The fact of the matter is I have a significant weight advantage over the goose, and I would use that to my advantage and easily defeat it. By the way, also thank you Arachnozak. Arachnozak gifted a sub an hour ago before I even started the stream. Thank you, Zach. I don't know if you're watching, but I appreciate the gifted sub. Thank you. The goose was the aggressor. Rob's just defending himself. Thank you, Sam. Rob sure seems keen on Talking about how much he'd fight geese for someone that doesn't hate geese. Zero problem with geese. Zero problem, B-Rat. Never had an issue with the goose in my life. What I do have an issue with, though, is people suggesting that me, a grown adult man, I don't give away my weight, okay? That's maybe a little bit too personal. It's a little, that the number's a little higher than I would like it to be, all right? A grown adult man. This is the problem that I have, okay? People suggesting that me, a grown adult man, couldn't defeat this relatively small, feeble creature. Camel clutch, humble you. I would put the camel clutch on the goose with his long neck.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Rob, are you gonna tell us you can't be anti-goose because your best friend is one?
Thank you, B-Rat. That's not what I'm saying, but thank you for the 200 friend coin nonetheless. A solid 170, that's right. It's right around there, Metal Dipshit. It's right around those numbers. We don't need to get into the details of like how much higher or lower it is than that. Are we still in the midst of Goosegate? Well, the thing is, as a joke, I put hypothetical animal battles in the stream title as a joke. And now it's being taken in this weird direction again. And the fact that you could beat a goose is a joke. John, you could beat a goose. I've seen you on your streams, John. You're a big guy. I have no doubt that you could beat a goose. I don't know where this lack of reciprocity is coming from. I have no doubt that John or almost anyone in the chat could defeat a goose if it came down to it. I would take that goose to Suplex City. Was Big Pussy a goose or was it Fat Pussy? I believe it was Fat Pussy, actually, is what that was. What's the most dangerous animal you think you could take, but it'd be a tough scrap? I would say probably like a mountain lion. That's what I would say off the top of my head. Off the top of my head, I would say mountain lion. It would hit the goose with the people's elbow. I would simply... Oh, fuck. I might have to put my hat on again. My hair is in a very bad play. Okay, that's all right. That's going to do. I'm not part of the goose truthers, but a mountain lion is where I draw the line. I would simply use its own momentum against it. When it tried to leap on me, I would sidestep, and with a little grab, turn it into sort of a belly-to-belly suplex type move.
You can count on
use
me.
its own
You're gonna have
momentum
good
against
old
it.
Rob to talk you through all this.
Cool stream? Fun weird.
Talks to all. Thanks for the 22 months of tier 1. A guy in Africa killed a lion in hand-to-claw combat, and chat thinks that they can beat a goose. I know, this is what I'm saying. Just hit 5 3-pointers on the goose in a row. I'm sorry, I've got to wear my hat. I'm gonna have to hat mode until further notice. I'm gonna have to get a haircut soon. It's not a goose hat, although now I'm thinking that it would be kind of funny to have some kind of goose feature, some kind of goose merch. Now that it's becoming a thing, I never intended for this to become a thing, okay? I never intended for this goose discourse to become a thing. When is this squawking goose is your next emote? Yeah. Something. I think we might have to incorporate this into the lore. And first of all, the question about the mountain lion is that it was clearly outlined that was not that would be a tough scrap. I'm not saying it would be easy. I'm not saying it would be easy for me to defeat a mountain lion. Of course not. It'd be very difficult. I just think that if it came down to it, and I had to defend myself, I could do it. That's how a true entrepreneur does it, baby. Creates artificial demand and then profits. That's right. My ultimate Twitch grifter move was when when Red Scary made the emote of me of young Rob with the mush Rob emote to make fun of me. And then I made that a tier 3 emote. So I made people have to sign up for tier 3 in order to make fun of me. This is kind of one of those same situations. There we go. There it is. Wait, that's the Cinnabon, Rob. That's not even on this channel. The invisible hand of the market moved the emote to tier 3. Very, very true. So difficult, in fact, that you would die. I think I would do okay. I think I would be fine. Man, you know what, folks? I'm really all the way back in on the dragon bullshit. I'm all the way back in. I caught the latest episode last night. Me and my partner watched that. I'm all the way back in. Seriously. The last episode was crazy. Some crazy drama going down in the dragon show. I'm standing in front of the Grand Canyon. I could jump that. It would be difficult, but I think I could do it. That would be ridiculous, obviously. Have you seen Prey? A mountain lion would murder you even if you had a spear. No, I think with a spear it would be no problem. I would just need to do a few weeks of conditioning. I would need to do a few weeks of conditioning and then I would be okay. I think. With a spear, hand to hand, it would be one thing. With a spear, it's like, it wouldn't even break a sweat. I haven't started yet. I just can't make myself watch the first step and couldn't get back into it. Honestly, I'm all the way back in. I must admit, I really tried to avoid it. I really tried to avoid it, and I'm all the way back in. And Mondo, I don't want to address that too much because I don't want to get into spoilers if people haven't seen the show. All I can say though is that Amon had it coming, and the Valerian kids did nothing wrong. Okay, they did nothing wrong. Amon is kind of a little bitch, and I did not feel bad about what happened to him. That's all I'll say on that matter. The trick with mountain lions is punching them really hard. It works for me at least. Yeah. We're adult human beings. Okay? One good shot to the gut as it's coming for you. Ugh. And it's just out of commission. Out of commission. So is no one else watching the show? Is no one else watching the show? Am I the only one that's like on this now? We can't do Dragon Discourse because no one's going to watch the show because you're still mad about the ending of Game of Thrones? Is that what's happening? Mondo's into it. B-Rat's into it. Okay. Because I want to talk about this. I watched it, but I'm undecided if I'm going to commit. I didn't really like the first episode or two, but I'm liking it now. It really did take a little bit of more time to pick up steam, I think. Yeah, I loved Matt Smith as Damon. He brings a really kind of menacing presence to that. I like Paddy Constantine as Viserys. Sean, you gotta jump in. You gotta try it. And even it's like it kind of changes a lot, even throughout the first season. Like it goes through these big time jumps. It kind of makes you think that it's one thing and then changes to another thing. Viserys is such a classic tragic character. Yeah, it's interesting how he's trying desperately to keep everything together, and just despite everything he does to try and keep everything together and keep his family together, they're on this path of fucking ultimate destruction and bloodshed. Dragon show better than Ring show. I've only watched the one Ring show, so I can't comment on that too much, although just in judging by the first episode, I prefer Dragon show. If Viserys rocks, they keep making him look like he's going to drop dead, but he clings to life. Exactly, he clings to life for like 15 years. It really is like you're like, there's no way this guy's lasting. Every single episode you watch, you're like, this man is 100% dead by the end of this episode, and somehow he's still around at the end, and you just know as soon as he does finally fucking die, all hell is going to break loose. He's the Joe Biden of TV characters. It's true. The space show better than Ring, better than Dragon. Wow, that's an interesting ranking. I've been really enjoying Andor as well. Really, really liking Andor a lot. It's weird how, Disney produces Andor and they also produce all the Marvel films, but just like the effects, like Andor looks fantastic. It looks so much better than like a lot of these modern like assembly line Marvel films. It looks so great. It looks like a really high budget movie. The entire series. The space show is for all mankind. Okay, I didn't see that. Haven't seen that. I'm kind of interested in watching that, but haven't watched it. The trick is that Tony Gilroy is a good director. Sometimes it do be like that, isn't it? Now we're getting all over the place, all the different shows. We're going all over the place here. Viserys is like two characters who seem somewhat good, so of course his body parts are falling off. Yeah. Seriously. Viserys every episode. Please stop fighting Jack. He just doesn't want to have any of it. They use real sets in Andor. The Imperial base is a real power station in Scotland. That's interesting. I'm also wondering if they're using that new effect. You know how they like replace the green screen? They're not using green screen as much anymore. They started doing this on The Mandalorian, and they use these big LED backgrounds, or big like whatever it is, that project the backgrounds in real time. I find that looks so much better. They used it in the Batman as well. It looks way, way better. No, they're not doing that. Okay. I see. Yeah, it is like a digital matte painting. That's right. Movie night on Friday, In the Mouth of Madness. Oh, that's cool. I haven't seen that for a long time. I'll try to make it to that. You know what else we should do for a movie night this month? Event Horizon. What about that? That could be kind of fun. That could be kind of cool. Oh, you can show it for Mouth of Madness, but can't even answer me on They Live. I see how this goes. I see how this fucking goes. Well, we could do that, Lodane. It's just I watched They Live really recently. I would definitely be down because it's very enjoyable, but I watched it like just a few months ago. So that's why I'm a little lukewarm on that. Rob is using one of those massive LED backgrounds. Oh, that's how good it is. That's right. None of this, what you see behind me, is real. It's all video projection. The Lennon busts are real. I just moved it off the shelf. It's just here on my desk. You know what I watched with my girlfriend recently because she's never seen it? Commando. See, I love 80s Schwarzenegger films, but Commando is probably one of my least favorite of those. It's kind of enjoyable, but I'm more a Terminator, Predator, Total Recall, Terminator 2, Kindergarten Cop guy. It got some good one-liners, definitely. Some good action in there. Absolutely. So we got Nora Loreto coming on the show today. We got Nora Loreto coming on at 1:30. I said we would talk more about Quebec today with Nora, so Nora is going to be coming on the show at 1:30. Just FYI. I know it's in the stream title and everything, but just FYI, Nora's going to come on at 1:30 to talk about Quebec. Andor took longer to make than all the other Disney Star Wars shows combined because of this. The Unreal Engine digital sets look good, but real sets are just so much better, and it really shows in Andor. You probably won't get any Star Wars show like this after Andor. Okay, so it's really just like they're just really relying on real sets. Lo and behold, the real sets and the real like lived-in universe that they created looks better than a bunch of digital bullshit. Who'd have thunk it? Who'd have thunk it? We just couldn't. There was no way we could have predicted that. Hello, Dimitri. What's up? What is up? No more Star Wars for real? Well, I mean, I think that's kind of where I was at, Theo. But I think what Andor proves is that you can do Star Wars and make it kind of interesting and different and make it look good. And it doesn't have to be connected to the big Skywalker saga. You can just do kind of like, you can do different things. You can just tell different stories in that universe. And you can pull that off. If you've got a good cast, if you've got a good creative team behind it, you can pull that off. It's a cool universe to set all kinds of different stories in. Especially stories that are kind of disconnected from the big, vast galactic battle of good and evil and all this bullshit. Hey, Lasu, what's up? Really enjoying Andor. You know, it reminded me of there's that scene, I think in the first episode of Rick and Morty, when they're like, Rick is like, you can shoot these robots. Morty, you can shoot these robots. They're not real. They're robots. And then he shoots them and they're all like, ah. And he's like, it was a figure of speech, Morty. They're bureaucrats. I don't respect them. It reminded me of Andor because it's like, that's who the bad guys are. They're bureaucrats. What about making a movie about Darth Vader having a midlife crisis? Yeah, I mean, that's kind of episode 4, really. I guess he's technically kind of younger. Like I said in the Discord, Andor manages to make a single TIE fighter flying by extremely menacing. There's no super weapon, Death Star, planet secret Palpatine fleet bullshit. Yeah, that's great. That's great. I love how the response to Andor the Chuds have is to glom onto the fascist pencil-pushing loss prevention specialist. I've seen posts from them saying, in another time he'd have been a hero, or he's just a man trying to do his job. Yeah, it speaks to their political leanings, doesn't it? I really like that whole like banality of evil part of it, right? It's not just these like cape-wearing fucking mass murderers, but it's the it's like I was saying, it's the bureaucrats. It's these weird corporate automatons that are somewhere down the chain that are helping the whole machine work, right? That's how fascism works. It's not just these big supervillains doing everything. You have hundreds or thousands of people that are in the fucking, doing the basic pencil pushing work to make everything function. The ladder climbers, yeah. Yeah, they're all trying to like climb over each other for promotions and stuff. I tried watching the first episode of Obi-Wan. It made me feel old and bitter. I didn't mind Obi-Wan, but I would definitely recommend Andor, Sean. I would definitely recommend it. Seriously. It's really well done. Also, how great is Laris on House of the Dragon? He's what Littlefinger should have been. He's so slimy. Oh my god. He's such a slimy piece of shit. Jesus. That guy. That fucking guy. Fucking Laris. I called Obi-Wan Obi-Yan. Oh my. That's wild. That's wild, Sir Eric. This is getting out of hand already, this stream. It's getting way out of hand. I didn't like Obi-Wan. If it wasn't for Andor, I probably would have also given up on Star Wars. I did a whole thing when I watched Obi-Wan talking about it. There were parts of it that I liked. I didn't like the retconning of all the original stuff, and I don't even want to get all that back into it, but having this whole, even though the whole big battle with Obi-Wan and Vader was cool to watch, like visually it was cool, but it's like you'd think that maybe that would have been mentioned when they met up again in episode 4 or whatever. Like, hey, remember that time? The last time we saw each other wasn't on that volcano planet, Mustafar, when you cut off your legs and stuff. But there was that whole other time. There was that whole other time when we got in that big battle. Remember that? Like, you'd think that would have come up. But it was cool. Visually, it was cool. I enjoyed it. Anyway, this is all the pop culture catching up here. I'm really into I'm way back into the dragon bullshit. That's my main takeaway. They both forgot how to fight with lightsabers in the following 10 years. Yeah, they kind of toned it down. They toned it down a lot in their older age. They can't be doing all that crazy stuff anymore. They went back to basics. You had tennis elbow. Yeah. It happens, you get older. The official stance of the director is that the original when we last met, I was but the learner. Retroactively was the Tatooine fight coming up. Yeah. I don't know. I think ultimately, as cool as it was, I think it's more effective when they meet up again for the first time, decades later after their confrontation on Mustafar there. Any other pop culture discourse we need to do? Are we caught up here? Very into the dragon bullshit. Enjoyed Andor. Have not watched Rings of Power, but I am open to it. The best bit is that Obi-Wan was in hiding but never changed his name. Or Luke Skywalker, right? This kid is so important. We must take this child far away and hide him so no one ever finds out who he is. It's so important that no one ever finds this out. What should we call him? Luke Skywalker. He's hidden in plain sight. No one would think to look at him because it's like, well, obviously they're not going to keep the same name, so that can't be him. It couldn't be him. He's got the exact same name. That would be ridiculous. Sort of like how the prequels made people go, oh, I guess what Obi-Wan was wearing to hide was just his normal Jedi robes. That's right, yeah. It is funny how you see how much of it is just made up like as it went along, you know? Or like the whole Darth thing, like Darth Vader. And then all of a sudden there's all different Darths. Darth Sidious and Darth Plagueis the Wise and stuff like that. The whole stuff about Darth Vader being his father in the first place. Skywalker's like Smith in the Star Wars universe. Yeah, that's right. That's right. I don't know, what else do we got here? What else do we got? Rob, please say something nice about Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton so Twitch will resume alerting me when you stream. I could do that.
Use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
What's this? Thank you, Dimitri, for the 100 friend coin. Thank you. Halloween special, the City of Brass. That sounds kind of cool. People should check that out. Thank you, Dimitri. Okay, here's something good about Joe Biden. The other day there was that it came out that Biden, after meeting with Liz Truss, the new UK PM, was like, no, we don't need to deal with her. She's a dumbass or something like that. That was cool. That was cool. Sometimes he gets it right. That was fun. It's really funny how she's almost like out already. It's been a really bad showing. It's been a poor showing for Liz Truss. Hey, Starlight, what's going on? What is up? The special friendship is over. I do like how Brandon is kind of subtly acting as sort of a secret agent of Irish independence. Just sticking it to the UK whenever he can. For that I respect him, you know? I'm not a big Brandon fan. I'm not a big fandon of Brandon, as many of you know. That you do have to hand it to him, though. From latest Truss speech, over the coming weeks, my team of ministers will set out more about what we're going to get to do to get Britain moving. We'll make it easier to build homes to afford childcare and get super fast broadband. Okay. That sounds pretty good. That sounds like pretty good stuff. The grudge of the Irish is keeping Joe alive. Brandon is just going to live to see Irish reunification in 2024, and then he's going to shuffle off this mortal coil. The broadband here is atrocious. Yeah, that's probably something that could have been done a while ago. You can go even farther and just nationalize the telecom industries. Well, I mentioned broadband and not, heating bills, etc. Well, that's going to be the big. They don't want to call people's attention to that. Ugh, excuse me. Oh, I'm pretty tired, folks. I'm tired. Damn. Not sleeping nearly enough. Yeah, I know, Sam. That's kind of what I was hinting at. Corbyn had an idea for that, and the media ridiculed him and called it broadband communism. Broadband communism. That's kind of why I wanted to mention that. I'm trying to see if I can find a clip. Broadband I don't know. It's really funny in retrospect. And by the way, one thing that we do have to get back to on the stream is that labor files special. It was that one. The first one was like madness inducing, but I think we need to get back to that as well.
You can count on me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
So we need to get back to watching those labor files, but it's just the amazing thing is the way that like Corbyn was framed as being so fucking dangerous for these extremely mild social democratic reforms. It's really fucking amazing. Resistance to the idea of nationalizing any public utility will never make sense to me. Who gives a shit where it comes from if it's fast, cheap, and reliable? We're so goddamn propagandized. Well, that's the thing, Old Dutch. It's like we're fed this idea that the private sector is always better, more efficient, cheaper, despite all evidence to the contrary of that. And people hate, like in Canada especially, people hate the telecom industry. They fucking despise the private telecom industry, like the monopolistic telecom industry that is absolutely dog shit, exploitative dog shit in Canada. People hate it. But you can't, for some reason, you can't go and be like, well, we should nationalize that. We should just nationalize these public utilities. Because it's like, what? No, and then we take away from the private efficiency that we get from our current system, which no one believes. No, literally no one believes this. Did I thank you for the gifted sub, Dimitri? I can't even remember if I did. But thank you. Thank you, Dimitri, for the gifted sub. I think I have to have another Diet Pepsi. I need another caffeine boost here. I'm not doing well right now. I'm not doing well. Hang on just one sec. I'm going for Pepsi number 2 here. I'll be right back. We're getting really crazy here. We're getting really crazy. The background is really sad. I don't know. I'm happy with the background. I just need to get more books. I need to pack the shelf with bookshelves. The sugar levels are going through the roof. Starlight, it's diet. Diet Pepsi. Totally A-okay. No problem. Just drink diet. It's basically good for you. Thank you, Sean. We may not agree on much these days. We may not agree on much, Sean, but we agree on that. Chin chin, everybody. I was talking to my coworker yesterday. He was complaining about the price of gas. I said, I know all the gas should be nationalized in order to bring down the prices. His reply was, I don't know about that stuff, but politicians are corrupt. I just left it at that. Just left the gun with that. Of course. Of course. If I was the government, I would simply demand that the oil companies not charge people that high prices for gas. Personally. But I'm built different. I don't know about good for you. No, don't worry. It's good. Don't worry. Don't worry about that. It is. Diet Pepsi has less caffeine than Diet Coke. I do, even though I do enjoy the odd Diet Pepsi, Sin Chow, as you know, I do kind of wish I had a case of Diet Coke. When I went to the grocery store, as I mentioned, very frustrating, but it did not have any Diet Coke, any fridge packs of Diet Coke. Literally the second most popular soft drink. The Yanis Varoufakis video where he was explaining energy contracts in Europe was pretty illuminating. I don't know if I saw that, Sam, but that sounds like something we should watch. Record profits and they can't even stock Diet Coke. I know. I know. It's fucking unbelievable. People can't imagine nationalism because they don't trust the government to do anything after decades of neoliberalism. So they assume the private sector is the only way. And that's the whole game of neoliberalism in the first place, right? To like underfund these public services until they become fucking creaky and decrepit and don't work anymore. And then you privatize because you're like, well, look how bad these services are after we've been deliberately underfunding them for this exact reason. This is my hot take. Diet Pepsi, better than Diet Coke. That is that's a scorching hot take, Old Dutch. Scorching. I can't endorse that. Honestly, I can't endorse that. I enjoy it. I enjoy a nice Diet Pepsi sometimes, but I can't endorse that opinion. That's way too far to me.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Thank you again, Dimitri, for the 100 Fred coin. You're enjoying a second Diet Coke while that goose is montaging his way to snapping you like Bane did Batman. Listen, when it comes to this is my final word on that. We're not getting more into this discourse again. When it comes to me versus a goose, who's the one that can hold the other one up in both hands and easily break it over a knee? I'll give you a hint. It's not the goose. It's not the goose. It's the grown adult man. No, it's not the goose. What is this broken arms thing? I'm sorry, but I don't believe this. This is fake news. Pepsi Max Lime, better than everything Coke has ever made. I'm correct about this. I must admit, I've never had Pepsi Max Lime. I don't think we get that here. We're not doing this goose shit again. Okay, this has already been decided. This discourse is finished now. It's already been decided. I could defeat the goose. We're moving on now. We're moving on. No more goose talk. Jesus. Rob is terrified of the goose. Not true. I like your hat. What's the design? This is my Toronto Raptors championship hat. It has the NBA championship trophy. From when the Toronto Raptors won the NBA championship in 2019. The last good thing to happen. It's been all downhill from there. Thank you for winning the championship for the Raptors. You're welcome, Starlight. I really cheered extra hard. It wasn't me, it was us. It was all of us. We all contributed to it, okay? We don't have any good flavors on anything. Our capitalism sucks even more. Well, I know, like in the States, I've had Diet Cherry Pepsi, which is very good, and it's just not available here. You literally just can't buy it. Carrier wave, thank you. Geese are easy. Just swing them by the neck above your head and toss them like a hammer throw. I don't see what the fucking big problem is here. Pissed. I'm trying to move off of this, okay? I'm trying to move off of the goose discourse, and each time I get out, they pull me back in. The best soda is still Dr. Pepper. I'm a big Dr. Pepper head, B-Rat. I prefer Diet, obviously, Diet Dr. Pepper, but I'm definitely a big Dr. Pepper man. Again, and I hate to repeat myself, you've failed to consider that the goose has already broken both your arms easily. I don't understand how this is fit. Like, it's a fucking small bird, okay? It's a small bird. Diet Wild Cherry Pepsi is the goat. It's very good. It's very good, Old Dutch. And I would say that's definitely, even though I prefer Diet Coke, it's superior to the flavored Diet Cokes. Although they did at my local Couche-Tard, they which is like the Circle, it's part of Circle K, the Circle K family now. They just installed one of those fancy fountain soda machines, like right around the corner from my place, which I really enjoy. You can get those refreshing fountain Diet Cokes with the different flavors. That's really good stuff. Caffeine-free Diet Coke. Where are my gold can fans at? See, I need the caffeine. That's part of the reason why I drink the shit in the first place. That's like the main reason that I drink the shit in the first place, is to get that little caffeine hit. All right, anyway. Guitar Chim, hello. What is up? To be honest, I do not like diet much myself. I just support Rob's lifestyle. Thank you, Sean. And aspartame is not disgusting. Okay? It's good. I like it. And it's better for you than sugar. Okay, sugar is very, very bad for you. Although I don't like it in coffee. I like a diet soda, but I don't like putting Sweet and Low or like Splenda or whatever in coffee. That to me is not enjoyable. Sometimes I'll put a little tiny bit just to sort of take the bitterness off. Just to take the bitterness off. But any more than that is just unbearable. Yeah, Dimitri. So in terms of the agenda, I will be talking to my my friend Nora Loreto. Today, we're going to be focusing, I think, mostly on Quebec because I talked a little bit about, the Quebec elections yesterday, and I wanted to get a little bit more in depth with Nora about the Quebec elections. But I can also ask her about what's going on federally and Pierre Poilievre and all this kind of stuff as well. Dennis Leary voice. All these different flavors of Coke these days. How about a Coke flavored Coke, huh? Correct hockey opinions haver Nora Loreto. I'm not sure if I'm familiar with her hockey opinions, but we can talk about that. And yeah, so beyond that, that's coming on. Nora's coming on at 1:30. Beyond that, I'm not totally sure what we're doing. Not totally sure. This is probably why I'm just stalling by talking about like dragon bullshit and aspartame and fighting geese. I'm just kind of stalling. I'm just kind of spinning my wheels here. Getting to the stuff about Putin's speech would probably be good, Dimitri. That's a good suggestion. I did want to talk about that. Geese are the dragons of birds. What do you think about it? I guess so. I guess so. Oh, that fucking Amond. That fucking Amond. What's the dragon that he stole too? This little prick, Amond. Vagar, I think, was the dragon. God, it's very frustrating. Very frustrating, yeah. Want another stall? You follow Victor Wembanyama. I've been seeing some of the highlights from him. Right, the NBA prospect. I guess you're talking about. Unless you're referring to another Victor Wembanyama. He didn't steal it. He got it fair and square. But he did cheat a little by doing it when Vagar was half asleep. Everyone agrees to stuff when half asleep. Yeah. Also very cruel. I'm a little lost in some of the names. Reyna, though. You know? That should have been Reyna's dragon, and he kind of in the middle of the fucking night comes down there. And then was very rude afterwards. Was very rude to this young girl who just lost her mother. Steals the dragon, and then not only steals the dragon, but is a total prick about it. During her mom's funeral. And is a huge prick about it afterwards. You know, that's not acceptable. That was not cool. I'm looking forward to see it because apparently someone just said it was a big Tex. He's going to be an incel. I did just see clips from the next episode because I guess there's another time jump in the next episode. So now you see him as an adult in the next episode. The thing that strikes me about the Game of Thrones universe is how rude people are. Just be nice. That's what you sound like. Viserys, carrier wave. That's what he's been saying this whole time. Can you just be nice to each other? And everyone's just like, no, absolutely not. No, we cannot. No, we cannot do that. We are talking about fictional characters. That's right. Yes, we are. That is absolutely right. Don't get me started on those fictional characters, I tell ya. What house would your allegiance be bound to? That's a good question, Dimitri. Maybe the Tullys. The series just wants to play with his Lego and for everyone to be nice. I know. Maybe the Baratheons is a good one as well, Dimitri. That's good as well. Yeah, I'd probably change my answer to that. Listen, Bobby Baratheon oversaw an historic peace in Westeros. What happened as soon as Bobby B had that hunting accident? Everything just went into fucking chaos. Everything went to shit immediately. He was the glue that was holding the whole realm together. He didn't even really want to do it, but he was just like, I guess I just have to do this. He just wanted to drink and party. He literally got drunk and laughed at how fat he was. He did rock. Yeah. How is this different from which house in Hogwarts is you? I think the main difference is that Game of Thrones is cool and interesting, and Harry Potter is bad and not good and childish. Gods, I was strong then. Yeah. Pivoting to a Game of Thrones channel might not be a bad idea. I think we can get a bigger audience doing that. If I could do weekly reacts, get some panels going. He also terrorized that Lannister kid, and it turns out he was correct. He was right to do that. Yeah, that's right. He correctly hated his shitty children. We would all just found House Lennon and overthrow the monarchy. Well, that's kind of what Bobby B did. I mean, he didn't overthrow the system, but he did overthrow the established ruling Targaryen dynasty with extreme prejudice. The WikiHow on how to avoid an altercation with a goose is very funny. I'm seeing on my left side here. I'm seeing images of it being posted in the TRRS Discord channel right now. It is pretty funny, even though I still think that I could easily defeat one with a Macho Man style elbow drop, instantly crushing its neck. They weren't even his kids, technically. Well, yeah, that's it. They had there's a lot of that in that series, isn't there? Rob's going to be the new Alt-Shift-X. Big fan of his GOT vids. I don't think I can go that far. I think people do go really far into the lore and into the Game of Thrones discourse. I do enjoy talking, and I must admit, I miss talking about it. It's been a few years of all the chatter about Game of Thrones. All the discourse has been about how bad it was. But remember how fun it was? when it wasn't bad and it was cool and it was fun to talk about and talk about all the theories and all the different families and houses and all this stuff, and you go into the lore and the history and that kind of stuff? Wasn't that kind of fun? We lost that. We lost that because Benioff and Weiss or whatever fucked it up so bad the last couple of seasons, and now we're getting it back. We're getting back. We get it back. We get the discourse back again. They took this from us. I'm deaf and not for some Song of Ice and Fire universe lore. This is what I mean. We can have that again, folks. I know there's some of you, we used to be a real country. There's some of you that are still afraid to give in. You don't want to be hurt again, and I get it, okay? I get that. You don't want to be hurt again, but we can have the discourse again. We can talk about all the dragon bullshit again, folks. Because now there's all different people we could be talking about that you're not familiar with. Like, we could talk about how Sir Criston Cole is like a huge piece of shit. Right? If you watched the original series but you haven't watched this new one, you don't even know what's going on with that. But I'm telling you, fuck this guy. Fuck Sir Criston Cole. He sucks. What do we think? And I got Nora coming on in like 10 minutes, so I can't talk about Game of Thrones much longer. Maybe I should just pivot to talking about this all the time, though. It's kind of enjoyable. Do we think GRRM is going to finish the Winds of Winter, the book? I know the last time this came up, Red Scary was making fun of me because I was getting my hopes up again. It was pure copium, and maybe it was. But I actually believe, yes. I think George R.R. Martin
use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
No tears of joy rolling on the floor laughing.
Thank you, Dimitri. I think he's closer than he's letting on. I think he's being a bit cheeky. He dropped that blog post the other day where he talked about it, and he seems like he's getting back into it. I don't think he'll finish the series, mind you. I don't think he'll finish the series. But I think he will finish the Winds of Winter sooner rather than later. Oh, good Lord, GRM won't finish the book Discourse. It's been reading this man's shit for 18 years, and y'all have never stopped at this shit. It is funny reading, like, I think it's in the Feast for Crows, like, prologue or whatever. And he's like, the next book, The Dance of Dragons, will be coming out in under 2 years. And it didn't come out for like 10 years. And then it's still not finished after that. But it's really funny. It's like, it's GRRM copium, like in the liner notes for Feast for Crows. He's like, oh, don't worry. This is only one half of a bigger book that's coming out next year. But can't you relate to that though? Like, I can relate. I can relate to have this big project that like everyone's anxious for you to finish it. And everyone's just like, please just sit down and do this work. Please. Please just sit down and finish this. And he's just like, no, I can't do it. I can't. Sorry. I find that so relatable. A very, very, very boring half. There's parts of it that I quite liked, Carrier Wave. There's parts of it that I quite liked. I remember the big thing about Feast for Crows that I liked was when Cersei, who's been complaining about like how she needs a chance to like be the leader, and if only she was not being held back for all these things, she would be able to do such a great job, and she'd show all these men like how it's done and everything. And then as soon as she actually just gets that opportunity, immediately fucks everything up like so badly. Just so badly. That was enjoyable. He said to lock him up. She is her father's son. straight girl bossing it. God, it's very entertaining when it all collapses. All her terribly thought out schemes just all completely fall apart. Just completely blow up in her face, and it's very satisfying when it finally happens. In the show, they made her more sinister, more of like a real serious character who's like good at doing things. And in the book, she just sucks. Most of the bigger catastrophes in Game of Thrones literally start with Cersei making a shit decision. It's true. Yeah, it's true. He said to lock him up if he wasn't finished by 2020 and 2019. I think he'll finish this next one. I think he will. I think GRM's going to do it. I think the Mad Lad's going to do it. Folks, I'm telling you, you could watch this new show and we could have this discourse again. Doesn't this feel good? I'm getting excited just talking about it. Here I am consistently enjoying the Joe Abercrombie First Law series, happy at the release schedules. Are you referring to these, Starlight? Are you referring to these First Law series? So good. So fucking good. So fucking good, Starlight. Although I noticed that I seem to be missing my copy of The Heroes, which is I think one of the standalones that he did in that universe, which is probably my favorite one. And I seem to be missing my copy of it. I don't know where it is. Sorry, I borrowed it. Okay, no problem, Commissar Thimbo. Just give that back when you're finished with it. What do y'all think Corlys and Rhaenyra Velaryon are going to do now that they think both their kids are dead? I don't know. So you'd think that they would back this new faction that's propped up with Rhaenyra and the mystery partner that I don't want to spoil. But also they probably have a lot of resentment towards them, even though their grandkids are linked to them. They're a little bit of a wild card, aren't they? This stream has become spoilers central. I'm really trying not to. They got a lot of ships. It's true. Whoever they end up backing and whatever faction they end up backing in this coming Targaryen civil war, they could be the swing faction. They could help swing it. Okay. Anyway, let's put a pin in this. Let's put a pin in talking about Game of Thrones dragon bullshit again. Even though I'm very much enjoying this, but I guess we'll have to talk about like politics and have Nora Loreto come on the show. We'll have to talk about serious business now. Not that talking about Game of Thrones lore is not serious. It is, but... Doesn't this feel good though, folks? Doing Game of Thrones discourse again? Come on, you know it's fun. You know you enjoy talking about it. I'm 2 eps behind, so I'm just muting the stream. Okay, we're done talking about it, GMO. I won't give any spoilers. And I've tried to be as vague as possible. I have tried to be as vague as possible, but we don't need to continue talking about it, all right? But I do encourage everyone to watch the show so we can do this discourse. Okay, I sent that over to Nora. I was waiting for Nora. She'll be on in just a moment. Barring some kind of unforeseen circumstances. No, I know the whole Dance of Dragons stuff is documented, Lodane, but some people haven't dug that deep into it. You know, some people aren't totally familiar with it. Some people haven't watched the show. I don't think I will. Come on, Pissed. Come on. Watch the dragon bullshit. Come on. Well, and Lodane, that's the thing. It's like I know that all the history is there for the Dance of Dragons stuff, but I've been avoiding looking at any of that because I want to be swept up in the week to week drama of it. I'm gonna watch the dragon bullshit. Okay, thank you. 10,000 sandwiches requires crave. There are ways to get around this. You're not wanting to read theory. There are ways to get around that. If you don't have Crave or HBO, there are ways, dude. Believe me. You don't even want to know about it. I can get you a House of Dragons episode by 4:30 this afternoon with subtitles. Okay, we got Nora coming on. Let's put it. We don't need to talk about dragon bullshit anymore. Maybe I'll ask Nora about it just as a joke, but I don't know. We'll see. Here's Nora LORETO, everybody. Hey, Nora. Hello. You hear me? Are you there?
Hello.
Hey. How's it going, Nora?
I cannot hear you, but I need to set myself up to make sure that it's not on my end.
Okay. You should be able to hear me. I'm seeing a little green movement on my microphone when I talk.
Hello. Yes.
Okay,
No, I
good.
Anyway, I don't know why, but until I get my headphones on, sometimes it's like no sound. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Sometimes that's how it works. Yeah.
Yeah.
true.
So what the fuck? How you doing?
Doing very well, Nora. Thanks for coming on to talk to me. How are you doing?
Yeah, man. I'm great. I'm really good.
Have you been watching the new Game of Thrones thing? Are you into that stuff at all? No, nothing. No dragon bullshit for you.
I watched old Game of Thrones, but I figured the new one would be closer to the later part of the series, which sucked. So I was like, not interested in it. You know,
I'm recommending it to people. I'm trying to get people involved.
Oh, is that right?
Because I'm getting hyped up, getting into the Game of Thrones discourse again and doing all that stuff. I'm kind of getting excited about it again. So I'm trying to get other people involved so they can be excited too. I don't know.
Okay, well, I'll take that under advice.
Okay, good. That's all. That's fair. That's all I can ask.
Yeah.
So Nora, thanks for joining me on the stream today. So the reason I wanted to talk to you, Nora, I mean, there's a number of things we can get into here, but we just had this Quebec election, and I've been very disconnected from it just because it seemed so like predictable and depressing. I've not really engaged with it that much, but I did want to, I fucking live here and it's important to talk about. And I know that you're probably more engaged with it than I am. And I wanted to take a little bit more time to try and understand these results and try and understand and explain to people who don't live here, what the political culture here is about and what just happened in this recent election.
Yeah.
So I guess just starting off, Were you surprised by the result of this election? It seemed kind of foreshadowed, and it seemed clear what was going to happen. But what was your takeaway when it was kind of immediately called for another majority for the CAC?
Well, I did an election special, and we called it for the CAC, I think, before the polls closed. So very proudly able to make that call very early on in the night. Yeah, all of the polls indicated what happened, so there was absolutely no surprises at all. I personally wasn't surprised whatsoever with any of the results, and in the results where it was like disappointing or a bit of a change to the status quo, I think each of those kind of definitely merit their own conversations. But, you know, the CAC is extremely popular. This is a premier who had higher than 50% approval ratings for the first time in the history of the province since there was more than two parties. And he was receiving that kind of support by fall 2020. So we've already gone through like the biggest, most intense period of mass death within the pandemic. Of course, death has continued, but like certainly not the institutional death that we saw at the beginning of the pandemic in a lot of old age homes in this province. And still Quebecers were willing to give this guy, 10 out of 10 or 9 out of 10. Now, I think it's easy to forget that that people still have a lot of anger towards the Liberals, as they should. The Liberals were in power almost uninterrupted for 15 years. And I mean, they were interrupted by a period of 18 months for a minority government that was run by a minority PQ government. And so I think that Quebecers quite rightly understand that the vast majority of our problems result from governance decisions made by the Liberals and not the CAC. And that gave François Legault a lot of cover. People love having like a strong father figure in this province as the head of government. And he was able to increase that vote share from 74 in 2018 up to 90.
Yeah. That's kind of one of the things we've been talking about. It's been really amazing that regardless of whatever, because I understand that they are really popular, and you can kind of make sense of why that is. But regardless of any of the missteps when it comes to COVID, I think I've talked with you about before how there's been this like really low bar for conservative leaders across the country, that it's so easy for them to sail under just by kind of following basic health guidelines. But of course, you had our weird pandemic curfew situation that happened, which was not backed by science in any way. That was very unpopular, and a number of things that they really fucked up during this period, but it didn't really seem to infect them in any way.
Well, it's funny though, because the only people that remind me about the curfew are Montrealers. No one in my regular life is like, oh man, remember when the CAC imposed the curfew on us? And it's such an interesting cultural, I mean, it's not like it was a good idea, and it's not like it saved any lives at all. As you say, like science was certainly not conclusive on that measure being necessary, but it impacted Montrealers in a totally different way than it impacted folks in Quebec City. And I suspect in other places too. And I think that that's one of many examples of things that you should be outraged by, but that people really weren't outraged by, like that really didn't impact them in a way that would motivate them to vote against the CAC. And, that being said, like the opposition parties did get more votes than the CAC got, if you look at them combined. Their votes just weren't efficient. They weren't located in such a way that would give them the number of seats that the CAC got. So we're also dealing with a system that privileges fake majorities, which is what the CAC got. And they didn't just get a fake majority, but they had a fake blowout. Now, they would have still made government had we had some sort of proportional representation system. But, but it's over amplified based on how the system works in this province and in this country.
Yeah. And just in terms of the curfew and everything, that's the thing in terms of, I'm a Montrealer, it didn't really affect me. I don't really ever leave my house at night anyways.
Right.
But it just seemed like an example of a totally kind of incoherent public health policy that didn't really seem to affect them in any way. But
yeah, I mean,
yeah.
it totally affected me. I was skiing every night. And so then once the 8 o'clock curfew came on, I was like, I couldn't ski anymore. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, this is the safest fucking activity. Like,
Yeah.
I'm by myself and I'm outside. And so honestly, when the second curfew came in, it was bumped up to 10. I was like, oh, thank God I can at least go ski.
Yeah.
But no, but there's a psychological difference in the rest of the province. And I think that it was seen as a measure that was necessary, like regardless of fact. And people weren't actually that bothered by it, clearly. I mean, because that's the kind of measure that could have probably sunk the leadership of a government if people were really, really mad about it, right?
Yeah. Can you tell people that are not from Quebec a little bit more about the CAQ? Because it is kind of an interesting coalition, isn't it? Like, they are a conservative party in many ways, but because of Quebec's kind of somewhat unique political culture, sometimes they have to lean in these different directions or do things that you don't really expect from conservative parties. Legault is kind of a populist, right, in many ways. So I just want to explain a little bit about what makes the CAQ different from like other conservative parties that we're used to hearing about.
Oh yeah, I would say that they're not even. I think that they're more liberal than they are conservative, frankly. And it's just the fact that we came through liberal rule that makes it a little hard to see that, because they are conservative for sure, but they're not doing anything more conservative than the liberals did. Like, unless there's something I'm not thinking of. So the CAQ comes out of, they were a splinter group from the Parti Québécois. And François Legault founded Air Transat. So he runs the party like a CEO. You can see that evidence of that is everywhere. And they wanted to be a party of like business values and that kind of thing. And I think that as they got closer and closer to power, they did just take that role that the liberals held, very friendly to business and very close to capital. But Legault is a true populist. I mean, this is a government that spent more money than ever before on surveys. And I mean, I don't have a doubt in my mind that if you name the issue, if there was overwhelming support for it in the province, Legault would do it. Like, he's not ideological in a political, in a left right kind of way. He's just like a guy that wants to keep managing things properly. And if tomorrow every single Quebecer came out and was like, I don't know, like get rid of Law 21, which is the law that bans certain public servants from wearing religious symbols, I mean, he would drop it. This is all about him trying to just appease the majority on every single issue. And, that's frustrating because the majority opinion on a lot of issues is fucking bad. But it's also an opportunity because it means that we really can push this government in certain ways. There's like, they had a majority government, and the number of the reforms that they wanted to push through. And I'm thinking specifically, I mean, I'm not going to go into the reform because it's quite complicated, but the reform around the construction industry, they could have pushed it through and they had no opposition in government to stop it. But there was enough of a fight mounted by the opposition parties and by industry and by workers, mostly by workers, that they didn't. So it's an interesting political formation. They've taken that spot of the liberals. I really can't tell you how different they are than the liberals. Like, they really aren't. Maybe on a question of English language, that's the only thing. But even on minority rights, like the liberals were trying to ban niqab from receiving people who wear niqab from receiving public services. I mean, it's the same freaking thing. Like, it's actually worse in a lot of ways. So they're an interesting political beast. A lot of people, I think, are reading them a little bit wrong. But there are a lot of parallels between what's happening now and the government of Maurice Duplessis in the 1940s and early 50s, where Duplessis really ran Quebec like a kingdom. He's like top guy in his world. And I think that there are a lot of parallels to that because Legault is a strong man, which is also a weakness because if he were to die tomorrow, the CAQ would absolutely not be able to survive losing their CEO. There's no, he's the linchpin in this whole experiment.
I think comparing them to the liberals is interesting as well. And this is something that I saw you were talking about in the day after the election. Is there's usage, and there's somewhat cynical usage of this kind of like identity politics. Yeah. And how they've got the first First Nations assemblywoman is part of the CAC. They have the largest black caucus, I think, in the National Assembly. They've really embraced the use of this kind of like of a very liberal version of identity politics in order to advance this agenda. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It's really fascinating, and I think it also just demonstrates that that as much as we want to paint them as just true to the bone racists, and certainly like many of them are,
yeah,
absolutely. And they use racism and they use identity politics to ignore, to hide kind of the some of the stuff that they want hidden. We also have to remember though that they're trying to be this economically minded centrist government, and it appeals to a lot of people regardless of identity. One of the weirdest experiences I had was talking to someone who just couldn't understand why the members of his mosque were all in for the CAC. And this is like Legault denies the existence of Islamophobia in Quebec. I mean, he says he does. I think that this is all a show. The guy knows very well that this is Islamophobia here. But at the mosque where there was the shooting in Quebec City, people would still vote for the CAC. So I think that the economic interest really plays quite heavily, and this is where comparisons to the Liberals is very interesting. I mean, the real difference is like the Liberals were run by doctors. The top 3 ministers in the Liberal government, most of them were doctors. Well, all except for the Minister of Finance, they were doctors, like medical doctors. And the CAC are all businessmen. So it's just kind of like two sides of the same coin. And then they're very, very, very good at solidifying their support by using these identity issues, considering that there's just such a massive difference between racial identity in Montreal and the rest of the province, which is also a unique thing to Quebec, where, most of Canada, the rest of Canada, immigrants will live in many communities in provinces. They are not going to only live in the Edmontons or the Reginas or the Torontos of the world. They'll live in smaller towns. They'll live in smaller cities. That's not how it works in Quebec. 80% of immigrants go to Montreal. And that's just a recipe for social discohesion, because you have all of these people in the province that just have no interaction at all with immigration. And then everything they hear about Montreal from their local news is negative and plays on racist stereotypes. So not that you get rid of racism by, making sure that immigration happens everywhere. Of course, there's still lots of other things you have to do, but that's a basic one, and it really changes how people interact in this province with Montreal, outside of Montreal, and then with their government. Because for people that haven't looked at the results very closely, the entire island of Montreal, except for one riding, voted against this government. Yeah. Like that's pretty stunning. But we have to also say that the CAC antagonized Anglophones. And that, I guess, is one cardinal rule that you do not do if you ever want to win in Anglophone Montreal.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess one of the things that's been frustrating, I think, over the last couple of years, not just in Quebec or not just but across Canada and across all countries that have these kind of neoliberal or conservative governments, is just the fact that, regardless of whatever mistakes that have been made with COVID or with other things, with the decreasing standard of living, decreasing availability of public goods, the healthcare system, and all this stuff, it's been an amazing opportunity for the left to organize around. And I think the frustrating thing when it comes to the NDP, federally, or QS here in Quebec Solidaire, it just seems like there's been this missed opportunity to take all these things that animate people, and to translate that into increasing their coalition and increasing their movement. And it seemed like, even though it wasn't a terrible result for QS, it does seems like they've been kind of treading water, and they've had this inability to get beyond where they were previously. Is that your read from what's been going on with QS over the last couple of years and in this election?
I think that we have to put QS into context. And the context is that you've got this massive hegemonic power in the CAC, and they've got tons of support everywhere. And QS is trying to do many things at once. They're trying to be the official opposition for all Quebecers. The reality is that they're only located in major city centers. And so they really do have legitimacy to talk about urban issues. QS is the only voice in Quebec City that will stand up and say we're against the Troisième Lien, which is this hilarious plan to put a tunnel between our shore and the south shore of the St. Lawrence at Lévis. They're the party that really fought the CAQ into forcing them to support the tramway project, which now they do, and it's going on. So they have to do that while also finding those issues outside of the urban centers that they can support. And what's really tough is you look at the deputy that just lost her seat in Abitibi, right, Emily's, and she's been the biggest advocate for air quality and health reforms in her community, because there's a huge smelting factory, the Horn Foundry, that is poisoning the people that live there. And like her activism and the party's activism has brought this to the fore. And then what happens? She loses her seat. And I think that's probably because industry was like, oh, hell no. Right. Yeah. Whereas you have Sol Zanetti, who has a similar situation with massive pollution within his riding, and it's much higher than anywhere else in the province other than in Abitibi. And the difference there is just that it's more diverse. It's not one corporation, it's many corporations, and it's more diffuse. And, he was able to hang on to a seat, but it wasn't a washout either. I mean, like the CAQ was very close and they didn't even participate in any debates. So I think we have to remember that QS is not only trying to be a political party. Like the NDP is always just trying to be a political party. They don't care. They're trying to just be the Liberals. They're hiding under coats, and they're hoping that when the musical chairs ends, they've managed to get that last seat. That's literally their election strategy. And QS doesn't do that. And the more that the QS goes towards that communication slick kind of style of politics, the worse it's going to get. But there are things that unblock things within QS that I think are hard to see until you see them. So the last time there was something that moved QS into a position where they were getting elected off of the island of Montreal, and a lot of Montrealers disagree with this or didn't see it in this way, but I mean, I'd love to have that argument with them, was that they merged with a very small, insignificant party called Option Nationale, but that party had tons of artists in it. And so the 2018 election, there was art, beautiful videos, beautiful posters, beautiful pancarts, all indicating that there was artistic presence within QS, which there had never been before. And it was one of the things that was enough to really launch people into getting elected, certainly getting elected in Quebec City. And I would also say kind of it helped the whole broader look of the party. What will it be for the next kind of iteration of QS? I mean, they have to continue the grassroots mobilization. They have to get much closer to social movement organizations that are doing like anti-poverty work and other work like that. I mean, the environmental side, they're pretty close already. So I think that's really good. Anti-racism work, they're not. That has to happen. But we have to not see this as being every single election. Why isn't QS getting more seats? Because there are other political factors that need to fall into place for that to happen. And I think that what we're seeing is an advancement more on future elections than this one. I mean, I could have told you in 2019 that the CAQ was going to win a majority just because they were handed a pile of shit from the Liberals and had total plausible deniability. Yeah. And the Liberals were collapsing. So who else is going to be the option? So it'll be interesting to see how QS plays this. I think it's also worth noting they just got three new MNAs who are politically radical, with a lot of experience dealing with political, the functioning of the state, which I think is going to be a huge benefit to them. And we saw, QS was number 2 in the votes. Right. So
that's what I wanted to point out too. It's like we can talk about failures of QS for their inability to grow from where they were, but they're literally in terms of the actual vote share, they should by rights be the opposition party. They got way more votes from the Liberals and 10 seats less than the Liberals. It's a total failure of our democratic system. The fact that they're relegated to this kind of more irrelevant third party status when they really shouldn't be.
Yeah, and they received fewer votes than in 2018, but not by much. It basically is the same. I mean, we're talking about maybe I think a few hundred votes fewer than in 2018. but there was presence, like there was talk of maybe QS could break through in Saint Francois, right, in the Chaudière-Appalaches, or maybe they could break through in Hull, right, in the eastern part of the western part of the province, or in Rimouski, right, where Carolyn Cack had some very hilarious plays on her last name, because her last name is the same as the Cack. I mean, like just awesome, right? But but QS is going to be responding to where social movements are. Like that's how the party is set up, and they need to continue to bring forth the demands of social movements to be able to bring political expression to the demands from the street. That's a huge challenge, and I hope that they're up for that challenge. It's going to get more difficult, and I know people were hoping to see more seats and not just one more seat. I mean, by all measures, that's not a huge success, obviously. But we're in a province where the pendulum shifts. Pendulum swings is how Quebec politics works.
We all remember the famous NDP election in Quebec. Overnight, all of Quebec decided to vote for the NDP, and then decided again never to do it again immediately afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, the NDP did fuck all to try and save their seats here either, right? Like that was the interesting thing of it, was the NDP was like, oh wow, they must love us. It's like, that's literally not how Quebec works. They don't love you. They really hate Stephen Harper. Is what's going on here. But this is the province that birthed a political party from nothing to full government in 6 years, right? With the foundation of the Parti Québécois. We're far from that era. But if people keep making these comparisons with Maurice Duplessis, I think what is very interesting is what's the backlash going to look like? You have an entire young generation of Quebecers, especially Montrealers, who will be taking radical action as they get older. And I think that has incredible potential. When I was organizing in Quebec Solidaire to change the position on religious symbols, because QS, like so many other progressive organizations, unions, the women's movement or whatever, their position on religious symbols went back to a huge commission that two philosophers held. I mean, this is so Quebec. I love it. It was the biggest commission since the Commission on Independence. And the philosophers were listening to all the sides of what people wanted: full ban like France, not a full ban, this kind of thing. And they decided that they'd come up with this compromise. And the compromise was banning in some public sector jobs. And very much very some, like cops, crown prosecutors, judges, some politicians, not even all, like the Speaker of the National Assembly. Anyway, ridiculous. They have since denounced that position. This happened in 2008. So when I was part of the movement that changed QS's position away from the Bouchard-Taylor compromise, I watched people's position change. Like I was in debates where we were like, this is like, argue. And then they would walk out of the debate in it with a changed perspective. And that just is a political culture that I have never seen anywhere else in Canada. And so I think that that gives me a lot of hope. There is always interesting debates that can be had in this province. And there always are interesting debates that can be had in this province. And I think that how QS will navigate itself as being the de facto official opposition, because the Liberals are in complete shambles. They're not going to be, they haven't been the official opposition. They're not going to be the official opposition going forward. They lost more than half of the votes that they had in 2018. And so that'll be very, very interesting. Of course, the flip side to all of this is the rise of the far right. And while they were shut out of any seats, they got a hell of a lot of votes, and they really should have gotten seats. I mean, if we had a system that was fair, they would have had some seats. And I think that they'll be able to make a lot of hay off of that, which will be really difficult.
Yeah. And I think one thing could be interesting, talking about QS moving forward, is I think because I think that becomes kind of an albatross on their neck when they become the party exclusively of the urban kind of intellectual academic crowd. There were a couple of ridings in these northern Quebec towns, mining towns, which the CAC carried, where they had a really strong showing though. And I think that's one thing that could be interesting, seeing if they can kind of expand beyond how they're kind of known as being this kind of urban intellectual party, and going into these more rural communities and organizing with workers there that are clearly affected by a lot of these, the way that our economy is being run right now. I don't know if that's going to happen overnight, but that was one thing that, even though you could frame the result as being somewhat disappointing, you saw that it seems like they're making inroads in some of those places, which is something that you would hope would continue moving forward, right?
Well, and that started in 2018. In 2018, QS was the #1 vote for all Indigenous communities in the province.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have the ability to sway the non-Indigenous communities that they share the ridings with. I haven't seen the votes from this election yet. I don't know. I imagine it's probably the same thing, if not similar. So there is a possibility. What the problem is I think that people really have faith in Francois Legault making everything better. Things are really bad. Things are differently bad based on where you are in this province. And people have faith in Francois Legault to make things better. And you know, in Quebec and in France and in the French legal tradition, there's this idea of like the responsibility of a good father. It's literally called le bon père famille. And Legault completely embodies that. He completely embodies the bon père famille model. And that speaks to a lot of Quebecers. And then on top of that, then he heaps on racism. Then he heaps on, well, we're protecting the French language by doing all this stuff to Anglophones. And it works because people are very afraid. Like people are afraid that they're going to lose French language and they're going to lose French culture, and that French culture is under attack because it is always under attack. I mean, English hegemony is really powerful in North America. So, you know, it'll be interesting. The other interesting thing, of course, is that the PQ also plays on a lot of these themes, and they're pretty much dead in the water. I mean, they elected their leader, which is a huge victory for them. Their caucus got cut down by more than half. They're only at 3 seats, and they couldn't be more regional. I mean, they're in Matapédia, which is that way, almost at the end of the, where the St. Lawrence goes into the sea. And Île-de-la-Madeleine, which is like an archipelago that is in the middle of the Gulf of the St. Lawrence, like really closer to PEI than to Quebec. And that's the PQ. That's where the PQ like has its power, other than Pierre Saint-Paul Plamondon, who's got a riding in Montreal. I don't think the PQ is going to survive. I think the Liberals will be fine. I don't see the exit strategy for the PQ because there is no political space for their politics anymore. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that seems to be the writing on the wall for them, which is really interesting phenomenon. Yeah. It is funny seeing how that the Liberals still have this big base in Montreal and elsewhere. It's just like you'd think that people would eventually move on from that as well. I don't know any of these Liberal voters in Quebec, but I don't know what's going on with them. But
it's amazing, right? Because you look at Ontario, where when the Liberals are decimated in Ontario, they literally only get 7 seats. Yeah. But in Montreal, the loyalty to the Liberal Party is so intense. And I know a lot of Montrealers that really thought that the two startup protest parties, the Bloc Montreal and then the Anglophone Canadian Federalist group, or whatever the hell, Colin Standish's group, that they might have actually taken enough seats, enough votes within some of these hardcore Liberal ridings to, knock the Liberals out and have the second place win. But it's kind of like fiction, right? It's fantasy thinking. Like the loyalty that these people have in some of these ridings to a federal Canada. I mean, that's deep. It goes super, super deep. Yeah. And they're the ones that are also the ones who are most pissed about the language law changes, which as an Anglophone outside of Montreal, I mean, doesn't really make a huge difference in my life. Actually makes almost no difference in my life.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of difference in my life either. Although it is changing things for kids and their ability to choose which CEGEPs they want to go to and stuff, which does affect my kids and stuff. It's more just frustrating to me that there's still this kind of like French-English dichotomy, which it seems like a lot of the younger generations have completely moved on from, and no one really cares. And just the fact that we're still kind of talking about this shit is more the thing that I find frustrating. Not that I'm totally being impacted personally by a lot of this stuff, it's just a general sense of frustration that this is still going on.
Well, I mean, the language is a huge issue. It's a huge, huge, huge issue. And I mean, Montreal to me is like I've never lived in Montreal. Montreal to me is like the greatest city in the world, and I love it. And I've always had great times when I go, and I've been a million times. And I was there 2 days ago. And most people in the province are oriented towards Montreal in some way, either like their kids lived there, or maybe they went to university there, or whatever, right? Like Montreal's a huge, huge presence in the province. but you know, like the problem with something like Bill 96 is that the biggest issues in it are the exigencies it places on immigrants to learn French and how fast they have to learn French. That's obviously bullshit. And the attack on indigenous languages. But the Anglophone community is not concerned about Bill 96 because of those two things. You know, they're concerned about Bill 96 because they think it's an attack on their inherent right as Anglophones to get services in English. And it's like, it's so funny because when I was in Montreal, you know, I'm in a bar and I'm talking to the bartender and they're all francophones and I'm speaking French, but they can tell I'm an Anglophone and they won't speak to me in French. It's like if I'm like where I live in my day-to-day life, I would never talk to a bartender in English. Never, never, never. It would just, it's like, wait, why did you do that? Like, you don't need to practice. Here, people want to practice. That's a whole other thing. So, you know, I think that it is fair for people to feel like French is under attack in a city like Montreal because it is so English in parts of the city. I mean, there's parts that aren't English at all.
Yeah.
And it's also very difficult to learn French if you live in Montreal because people keep switching to you in English. And it's very, very hard to just immerse yourself. And you will know that a million times better than I know that. But, you know, like the idea for me as an Anglophone that I deserve services at my local hospital in English is like the guy that speaks Spanish, the woman that speaks Arabic, like they don't have the same rights. Like, what the hell do I have that right? That doesn't make any sense. And I think that the language, because like people have such hangovers over history, and that is most acutely represented in these pockets of the West Island of Montreal. Then you'll see that, you know, the Liberals can literally shoot a man dead in the middle of the street in downtown Montreal, and they'll be like,
yeah,
still got to vote for them.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate your take on that because it's different from what we normally hear when you get into this kind of discourse. I don't want to keep you too much longer, Nora. This is more of a quick hit, but federally, are you buying into the Poilievre mania? Do you think this is the guy? Do you think this is the guy that's going to lead this conservative movement and is going to dethrone Trudeau, whether Trudeau runs again or whether it's going to be against Freeland? Do you think Pierre Poilievre has the sauce to actually dethrone the Liberal ruling order right now? Do you think he has any credibility when he talks about these kind of economic issues, the kitchen table issues or whatever bullshit it is, even though he obviously benefits from all the, he has been a part of that exact status quo for his whole career? Do you think Pierre Poilievre has the juice to become the leader of this country?
I mean, the idea of him having any juice makes me want to vom.
Yeah, that's pretty gross. Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, that's pretty disgusting.
Yeah,
sorry.
It's horrifying.
Yeah,
this is a guy who's a campus Tory, and never grew up. Went right from campus organizing at the University of Calgary to the safe conservative seat in the Ottawa Valley, and has never left. Right. You know, it's hard to say that it's impossible for him to get elected because nothing's impossible and blah, blah, blah. But I mean, he's trying to be a showman. Like, he's trying to come off as some sort of like Trump-esque showman, but has none of the like actually funny things about him that Trump did.
No, not at all.
Like, I don't think Paulie ever knows how to crack a joke. And he certainly doesn't know how to say something that's funny by accident. And that's all kind of like charm. He's worked on having charm. He's worked on trying to fake authenticity. But it's awesome when he's talking about like the cost of living going up, and therefore it's Justin Trudeau's fault and not landlords' faults like him because he's a landlord.
Yeah.
So where does this put us? I mean, I think that the Liberals are salivating over a Poilievre Freeland showdown. I think that that's what they want. I think that would be the easiest for them to play. And I do not think that Poilievre does have the stuff to beat the current Liberals. They're too organized. They're not collapsing.
It's kind of whoever wins, we lose type situation when you talk about that.
Yeah. Yeah. And the interesting thing too is like there's a couple of forces that don't care about who the conservative leader is that we need to consider in Canada. One of those forces is that historically Ontarians will never support a federal government that they have in Toronto. And so by that historical logic, like literally you can go back in history, it's only happened a couple of times. It's only happened for a period of a few months. By that logic, as long as Doug Ford is the Premier of Ontario, Poilievre will likely not be the Prime Minister of Canada. And partly that's because there's just so many like people required to make him a success. They're all working for Doug Ford right now. It's the same thing that happened between the Kathleen Wynne, the Dalton McGuinty machine moving to Ottawa and becoming the Justin Trudeau machine. That's all the same people. And when that machine left Ontario, the Liberals collapsed. So that's a huge logistical, bureaucratic, and political cultural reason that Poilievre could be the most effective guy in the world and would still be very unlikely for him to be able to be elected prime minister. The other big fucking wild card is Quebec. Yep. And while Poilievre tried to suck up, and probably to some extent did successfully suck up to Eric Duhem and the Conservative Party in this province, which is of course brand new. They went from nowhere to actual like running a proper campaign, getting a lot of votes. The Bloc has worked very hard to keep itself aligned with the CAQ. And so in an election between Conservatives and the Bloc Québécois, which is really just a proxy between the Conservatives and the CAQ, I think the CAQ still wins. And you can't just have 11 seats in Quebec to be the Prime Minister of Canada. You need to have many, many more than that. There are 88 seats up for grabs in this province. So I like to look at it more like the Moneyball approach than is this guy got the charisma to actually do it. I don't think he has I don't think the stars are aligned yet for him to be able to do it, but I also don't think he's going anywhere. So can he wait it out and eventually become prime minister? I think totally.
Yeah. Well, pretty horrible outcome for all of us, regardless of whether he does or doesn't. Yeah. But thanks, Nora. Yeah. I didn't want to keep you too much longer. I really appreciate being able to get in touch with you again and hear you break this stuff down. Thank you again for coming to talk to me, Nora. It was always a pleasure.
Anytime.
Great. Do you want to plug your stuff before we go?
Sure. Yeah. You can check out my podcast with Sandy Hudson called Sandy and Nora Talk Politics. This week we talk about Iran and what does it mean for Canada? What does it mean for Canada, but what do we do about it? Anyway, whatever.
Yeah.
You can check that out at sandyandnora.com, sandyandnora.com. And then you can check out what I'm writing in a lot of different places, including my Substack, noraloreto.substack.com. And my doorbell just rang, so I'm going to
Perfect timing. Thanks, Nora. We'll talk to you soon.
Bye.
Great stuff. Thank you, Nora. Nora, everybody. We love Nora. Yeah, thanks for the interview. It was an interesting talk on the political and social situation in Quebec. Yeah, like I said, I wanted to take more time to break some of this stuff down. There's a few of you that live in Quebec. I think for many of you, people that are in the States or people that are elsewhere, don't really get a chance to like engage at all. Even though I'm here and I talk about politics all the time, I probably don't spend nearly enough time talking about sort of local politics like this or provincial politics. So I appreciate hearing getting Nora to break that down, and I think hopefully it's good for you as well, folks that aren't from around here, to get that kind of a perspective as well. I'm going to take just a quick break, okay? And by the way, I got to say, folks, 2 hours into this stream, a really wonderful conversation with Nora, sitting at 4 subs today. And again, listen, I'm not going to be a hard ass about subs. I'm not.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Since I took the break from Twitch and came back, people have been extraordinarily generous, and I really do appreciate it. I'm not going to be mean about subs or crack the whip too hard about this stuff. But I do just have to mention, I at least have to give a cursory mention that if you do enjoy this program, you can subscribe to the channel. You can use your Twitch Prime subscription to subscribe absolutely free. You can gift subscriptions. All of this really, really helps the channel. You can gift friend coin or highlight your messages as well. Very, very helpful to keep this content on the air and very supportive, and I appreciate it a lot. And GMO Radio, thank you for gifting a sub. Very kind of you. Very, very kind of you. Whether you think that I could take a goose in a fight, whether you don't think so, regardless, these are the ideas that we talk about here. And if you want to support this kind of content, if you enjoy this kind of content, please subscribe. I appreciate it a lot, and it helps a lot. That's all. Again, I'm not going to be a hard ass. I'm not.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Thank you, Sam, for the gifted sub as well. Very kind of you. I'm not going to threaten anyone with a weapon, an edged weapon of any kind, a knife. I know I'm very physically intimidating, and I can't control that. But I'm a very friendly guy. And when I ask people to subscribe, it's just a gentle reminder. That's all. It's just a gentle reminder. That's all it is. A gentle reminder. Anyway, let's just have a little bit of an interlude. I need to take a little bit of a break. I'm very tired. While you were on hiatus, I studied the blade.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
I resubbed, but I didn't see the alert go off.
Well, Matt, thank you very much for the 13 months tier 1. I got the alert. There it is. Thank you, Matt. I really appreciate that. I can beat up a goose. How about a sub? I would never beat up anybody. I would never beat up anyone that subscribes to the channel. Maybe some of the lurkers, maybe some of the non-subscribing lurkers, maybe some of them. I could give a little bit of a knuckle sandwich. But of course, no one that subscribes would ever be in danger of anything like that. Ever. Okay? Under any circumstances. Okay? Don't worry about it. Let me just find something to put on here for a moment. I just need to take a little bit of a break, and I will come back. I will come back shortly. Got about another... What do I get if I win the fisticuffs, though? Clearly, that would just never happen. Clearly. Hear the echo from his punch. He's not joking. No, that was a meaty smacking sound. Couldn't get through one shill sesh without the threat of violence. It's an implicit threat, okay? It's not an explicit thing, okay? Ron, was this your doing? What is this? I had nothing to do with this, okay? Nothing to do with this whatsoever. Make it legal to strangle geese at public parks. Wow, they do have a lot of little teeth there, don't they? What, do they have like barbed tongue things going as well? Damn, that does look... I'm not going to lie, that does look a little bit scary. That looks a little bit intimidating. Kind of xenomorph-like. I still think that I could do it. I still think that I could take care of it without much of an issue. Certainly that would not feel good clamped on the old forearm, though. He's lost the mental fight already. Certainly that would be unpleasant. Why is it addressed to Kanye West, this petition? I don't know. I don't know why it is. Couldn't tell you. I'll be back in just a sec, okay, folks? Don't go anywhere. Don't go anywhere. I'll come back in a few minutes. We'll talk about more good stuff. All right, peace.
We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account. We simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
Squatch Drew, thank you. I'm seeing a lot of little children in this video. This intimidating creature. All I see is this creature bothering a bunch of little kids and feeble old men. Thank you, Squatch Drew. Let's see him try and fight someone with tactical gear on. And you all know that I've got that. I never said I liked geese. Well, it seems like you're a big goose lover over there, Sean. Seems like you love geese and want to kiss them and want to marry them. Frankly. TRRS branded tactical gear. That's what's coming next. That's what's coming down the pipeline. Inside you there are 2 geese. This is a small child. I would easily reverse this into like some kind of a dragon sleeper or rear naked choke situation. Easily. This feeble child is just getting embarrassed. I would disown my child if they got humiliated like this by a goose. No, it's not video of me as a child. No, it's not. I wouldn't disown my child. That's not true. I wouldn't do that. That child would have grown up to be Hitler. Traveled back in time to defeat baby Hitler. I do kind of want to see give the goose a tombstone pile driver. No problem. No problem. And by the way, thank you very much, Dimitri, for the 200 friend coin while I was away. Thank you. Rob is forgetting about the powerful toxin of the goose. Do they have some kind of toxin? I wasn't aware of that. I was not aware of that. They're venomous. That's not true. These poles are rigged. Okay? Stop the steal. A neck like that could easily... Thank you, metal dipshit. A neck like that could easily be RKO'd from any position. They're just asking to be. And look, this guy's not even fighting the goose. He's running away like a coward. He's running away like a coward. This is the problem as I see it with a lot of these men versus goose videos that I see. A lot of these quote-unquote men, many of them are children. A lot of them are just playing not to lose. Okay? And that's you can never have that strategy. They're playing not to lose. They're playing not to get hurt. Okay? Like, what is this? What is that? What is this? So like, even that lady just now, she could have easily killed the goose just now. She doesn't want to. She could have very easily killed the goose in that situation. That guy just got poisoned. What's this poison business? Surely people are making that up. Why do you want to kill? But here's the thing, I don't. I don't want to. You need to be ruthless. Work the body to tire them out, then tie the neck into a knot. Easy. Thank you, Sam. Thank you. No, I don't want to. I'm simply saying that if I was forced to...
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
TRRS Sankara.
JNKD, thank you so much for the 19 months of Tier 1. Thank you. I was told that you were still discussing geese. No, we're not. We're not discussing geese, okay? That's not true. We're moving on from that. Never again. I'd simply wind up my arm for a lethal punch, but then give a quick jab with the other hand and catch the goose completely by surprise. Great move. The misdirection, right? You're, oh, why I oughta... Oh, you get it with a little jab right in the neck. I like that, Squatch. I like that attitude. Why I oughta... That's what I'd say, too. That's what I'd say. How are you doing, Squatch? I saw your post about... Oh, look, we got some... The poll started to balance out at the end there. I saw your post about getting annoyed at the basketball game by someone doing epic TikToks in the basketball game and not standing for the national anthem. I was having a chuckle at that this morning. Use the Notre Dame Fighting Irish stance. That's the real fisticuffs. Put up your dukes. They don't even have dukes. They got wings. You do the old 2 fingers in the eyes. Exactly. The eye rake. Gah! Sorry, Miragons, is this supposed to be intimidating me? Is this supposed to be intimidating me? Look at this, it's tiny, feeble. The lady's arms and legs are broken. She literally just doesn't have arms because they've just been completely severed from her body at this point. Their arms have been completely severed. That's why they're not available in the image. They have a good center of gravity. Okay, I'll give you that. They got that low center of gravity. She doesn't have a face. No, it's just been completely severed, completely removed from her body. These are the... Squatch, thank you for having my back on this. Okay, thank you. These are who the geese fight. Armless women, old men, and children. Exactly. I'd fire an RPG at the goose. And if it's low to the ground like that, it's susceptible to a Macho Man style elbow drop or axe handle. Or just a good punt. Get it in a small package for a surprise pin. You grab the tights as well for some extra leverage. Hey gang, how are we doing? Glad I could make it. Thank you, Doc. Welcome. Nice to see you. Rob in a basketball game. Look how little this dude is. The dude being Muggsy Bogues. You can't compare a goose to Muggsy Bogues, though. NBA legend Muggsy Bogues. I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's a fair comparison. Now we can get the opinion of an actual MD. I don't know if we want to drag Doc Hollywood into this sordid affair. I don't know if we can even do that. You don't see geese attacking men on YouTube because they don't allow such violence to be shown. The goose is going easy on these people. Perhaps that's it. all the real man versus goose content is all just it's cordoned off. You got to pay for that stuff. It's not on YouTube. It's illegal to show on YouTube. Muggsy Pokes is an all-time great. Show me a goose with his ball handling. You won't be able to find it. You will not be able to find it. Checking in from Colorado to see our brave leader stronger than ever. Thank you, Johnny. I'm happy to see you. Happy to see you in the chat. Welcome. Next UFC, Rob and Goose face each other in the octagon. I feel like this has to be the next logical progression of this conversation. You know? This is how this ends. This is how this stream ends. With me fighting and being killed tragically on Twitch. It's trying to fight a goose. Goose expert on for a debate. It's been 2 days of this now, by the way. It's been 2 days of this dialogue. Anthony Edwards bursts through the door and uses a metal chair on Rob from behind. By God, that's Goose's music. It's you shake my nerves and you rattle my brain. The Great Balls of Fire. Too soon. Still very upsetting. Are you going to have the pink feather boa, etc.? Absolutely. And there was a basketball booze. Goose Tatum, I see. Of course I'm going to have the feather boa made out of goose feathers. How about that? How about that? Rob's follower count falling to 0 to getting embarrassed by the goose in the octagon. Oh no. Oh my. Joe Rogan interviews the goose after the bout to ask about its training regimen. We got to move on to something else. Folks. This is like... I do want some Rob versus Goose merch, though, I must admit. I do want that, but I got to move on to something else. Oh, excuse me. Excuse me, folks. I'm tired. Really tired. What else do we got here? Oh, you know what? We watched some VJ content yesterday. I think it's a good time, actually, to watch VJ's speech the other day that we've been talking about. What gives imperialists the right to use the word democracy? What about that? It's more VJ content. A TRRS goose entourage brawl at the weigh-in causes an international incident. What are VJ's thoughts on the goose situation? I am going to, when VJ comes back on this show, which should happen soon, I do intend to ask him about this. Have you heard of France Faron? I saw VJ wearing a shirt with him in this video, based Pan-African psychiatrist. That's interesting, Doc. I will derail the conversation and make it about geese every day until either I'm dead or Rob is dead. I am convinced that I could easily defeat a goose. Easily. Loses to the goose and shows up in AEW 2 years later. I was going to spoonerize my name. There was always that wrestling joke about like, my God, what's Rob Rousseau doing in the Impact Zone? But I can't spoonerize my own name because it's starts with the same letter. Bob Russo, like Ross Rubo. Yeah, something like that. That's good. Hey Lizard, how's it going? There's been a lot of shit talk. You kind of have to back it up now. I mean, I don't know if there's a plate, like, I don't know if the geese are readily available for me to go and just take them on willy-nilly. You have to find a... Ross Rupo, we have to find a racist goose for Rob to find to make it ethical. Oh. Gob Guso. Jesus. Okay. Okay. Ugh. You people. You know, I try to come on here and do serious political content. Talk about colonialism and imperialism, foreign policy, socialism, history. And this is what we end up doing. This is what you people want me to do. The chatters. Very unfortunate. Okay, I knew about Fenno and the Wretched of the Earth. I think I misread Doc's comment. I thought he was talking about someone else. Because I think he said Pharaon. Am I getting people confused here? Because I know about the Wretched of the Earth and Fenno, even though I've not read it. Okay. This is on Doc for messing me up here. So yeah, I am familiar, Doc, but I probably someone that I need to read more about. I do need to read that Wretched of the Earth, definitely. Franz Farron is the Impact Wrestling version of Fenno. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. Okay, so let's look at this Vijay Prashad speech. Okay, we can look at that. Thanks to Breakthrough News for clipping this. We can look at that, and then maybe we can see where we're at after this. I can still talk about geese. I know that's the only thing you're interested in, Miragons. I know that. Okay. Let's take a look at this. And again, I am going to reach back out to VJ. I should hopefully be getting VJ to come back on the show very soon. And I will be asking him about this goose stuff. And I don't think you're going to be too happy with the answer to all the doubters. This was really cool, as always, when it concerns Rob's good personal friend, VJ Prashad. Absolutely. That's right. The speech is good enough to table
count
goose
on
chat.
me.
Okay,
You're gonna
good.
have good old Rob
Good.
to talk you through all this.
Old Dutch, thanks for the gifted sub. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Ask him where he gets his shirts. He does have great shirts. And we talked about this in the last time he was on as well. He had a final variant is communism shirt. The last time I talked, he's got a great Lenin shirt. Let's hear from our friend, my friend and yours, VJ Prashad.
This wonderful evening of solidarity is someone who often gets described as
you know what? I didn't have coffee today. This is what I'm realizing. I think I just relied on Diet Pepsi for my caffeine today, and I'm realizing that was a mistake. That's why I'm so fucking tired. I did not have my coffee this morning. Won't be making that mistake again. Okay, here we go.
a historian and a journalist, but I would like to introduce him as an Indian boxer who often likes to throw punches at the empire. He's been known to be, I would say, quite saucy when it comes to talking about US imperialism, and questions those who put an S at the end of that word. I'm honored to welcome Comrade Vijay Prashad, Executive Director of the Tricontinental Institute for Social Research.
Good evening. Nice to be with you. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Those incredible habits of colonialism, that finger wagging, it's amazing. Joe Biden, Obama, Trump, I forgot, Bush, Clinton, and so on. They seem to go to school somewhere where they learn to wag their finger. They can't talk to us without wagging their finger, telling us how to behave. When I listen to them speak, including Emmanuel Macron and Liz Truss, even the Queen of England met Liz Truss and died. Within hours of meeting her, she couldn't take it anymore. They seem to have this habit of speaking to us like that. And sometimes when I listen to them speak like that, I feel like that little boy in shorts, infantilized, old colonial habits.
What is the saying we heard about China and Africa and something like that? When China comes, we get a hospital. When Western imperialists come, we get a lecture, something along those lines.
Anytime we stand
I just
up
butchered
and say
that, but
we're
you get the
people,
idea.
we're human beings as well. We have plans, we have projects. They say, sit down. Sit down, listen to us. Such a pleasure today to listen to our comrades, Comrade Carlos, Comrade Bruno, from the great revolutionary experiments and processes in Venezuela and Cuba. So great. So great to finally listen to world leaders who are adults. So great. So great. So great to listen to our comrades Claudia and Kristen. And you know what? Let me tell you something. When I say that they have this habit of wagging their fingers, I also want to say they're deeply mediocre people. You know, Joe Biden is a deeply mediocre man. There's something deeply unsettling about how mediocre the leaders of the United States are.
Go off.
I mean, look at Ted Cruz. What is this? Who are these people? And in a way, it's the people of the United States that's failing themselves. When you have the possibility of electing Claudia and Kristen to be your president and vice president, instead of amazing people like this, you send Joe Biden to what they call the White House.
Who are these
When
people?
they're
I don't know.
the
Squash.
presidents,
I
it'll
don't
be
know.
called the People's House. The House of White Supremacy. The White Supremacy House. Joe Biden wagging his fingers, telling everybody how to live.
We simply
Claiming the word
use the computer to mark up
democracy
the
for themselves.
size of the account.
What is this? That's what I say every day. Who are these people? It's a good question. Who the fuck are these people? Thank you, Dimitri.
Who gave them the right to claim the word democracy? Democracy is our word. Who gave them the right to destroy the word human with their propagandic phrase, human rights? Human rights is our word. That's our phrase. They shouldn't sully these words in their mouths. Democracy. What democracy? What democracy? The democracy of money. The democracy of money. Buying
Hey,
elections.
up the Reds, what's up?
Bribing politicians. That's this democracy. How can you claim to be a democracy when you have people who are hungry in your country? How can you claim to be a democracy when you have people who are hungry in your country? How is that a democracy? What kind of perversion makes you say democracy when you allow people to be hungry, when you allow them to have no houses, when you allow them to take refuge in cocaine? And then you go and bomb Colombia. What gives you the right to use the word democracy? Next year is the 200th anniversary. 200 years. It's the 200th anniversary of the dreaded Monroe Doctrine.
It was so cool to be able to talk to him about this
200
stuff.
years ago, the United States decided that it owns the Americas. And by the way, it was not just a speech made by James Monroe. Shortly thereafter, the United States conducted a war of aggression. Did you hear Biden say the United States never conducted a war of aggression?
Brandon.
Mediocre. Mediocre.
Brandon, come on.
Lying about his own history. I know his history better than him. Mediocre. Unimpressive. Lying about his history. He says, just a
Mediocre.
few decades after the Monroe Doctrine, the United States, in an aggressive war against Mexico, seizes almost half the territory of Mexico. And then they call them California and so on. Occupied Mexico. When is Mexico going to claim that land back? When is that going to be back on the table? And then coup d'etat after coup d'etat after coup d'etat.
I just found it funny how that was translated as cool data. Cool data after cool data.
Guatemala to Brazil to Chile, Operation Condor. How many governments have you overthrown today, Joe? How many governments have you overthrown today, Joe?
He should lean into the Brandon thing as well, I think. That's the only thing that could improve this speech. If he started referring to him exclusively as Brandon.
How many illegal, aggressive wars have you sanctioned, Joe? Did you vote to illegally bomb and destroy Iraq, Joe? Did you bomb illegally Libya and destroy that country, Joe? What are you doing today, Joe? Mediocre. Destroying the world and calling that democracy.
Mediocre is like the most hurtful things you can call someone. You're not even cool or important enough to be bad. You're just a mediocre. Yeah. It reminds me of that tweet when you say, who is this clown? Because not only are you implying that someone's a clown, but they're not even one of the well-known clowns. No malarkey seems to have a bunch of malarkey. This man seems to spew a lot of malarkey for someone who's ran explicitly on a no malarkey platform. He ran explicitly on a no malarkey platform, and this motherfucker's full of malarkey constantly. All kinds of malarkey. You got the malarkey up the yazoo over there. He is mid as fuck. He's incredibly mediocre. It's really powerful. It's true. Putler, please do referendum on Odessa, Texas to rejoin Mexico. Yeah. It's like Chevy Chase being called medium talent by Bill Murray. Oh, that stings. You know Chase still thinks about that, right? Squash. You know he still stays up at night remembering that, just being like, fucking Murray. To know that you're malarkey free, you must first know total malarkey. That's this show sometimes. All kinds of malarkey happening here.
That is not democracy. That is a perversion of the idea of democracy. The Monroe Doctrine next year, 200 years. When is this country going to grow up? When is this country going to grow up? When is this country going to recognize that it actually is not a country on the hill? Give it up. You're just ordinary people. You're just people. You're just like the Mexicans. You're just like the Cubans. You're just like the Venezuelans. Relax. There's nothing special about the United States. Relax, guys. Relax. Relax.
I'm sorry, folks, but it's kind of a mediocre country as well. Okay? Many of you are very wonderful people. Many of you in the chat, wonderful people. Many Americans, though, highly mediocre, though. It's true. Canadians as well. Okay, listen, I'm not one of these like, oh, Canada good, America bad. Canada extremely mediocre. Extremely. Don't get me wrong. The West is just full of mediocrity. I think that's the problem. We're all above average. I think even that is too generous. I think we're slightly below average. Mid. We are mid. Our whole culture is mid. I'm a mediocre person in a mediocre malarkey-filled shithole country. All of North America is very mid. It's about time someone acknowledges this. And Canadians trying to be us. That makes us even lower than mid. That makes us even lower than mediocre. When we're literally just trying to pretend that we have the same culture as you. Dominant in snack foods, though. Is it, though? Have you seen some of the snack foods coming out in China right now? Have you seen some of that shit? They're absolutely decimating us in the snack food game. Okay? They're killing us. When I briefly lived in Montreal, everyone was mad at me for not speaking French. If I said I was American, they'd be mad at me. If I said I was Canadian, they'd be mad at me. That was kind of cool. Otherwise, mid. Montreal is a great city, but most of the people that live in it, mid. Me included. Me included. Japan probably has us beat in snack foods. A lot of Korea. Have you seen Korean street food recently? They're decimating us. America has gotten lazy as the lone superpower and as the snack food creator and innovator of the world has been sitting on their britches, getting lazy. Shared cultural experiences amount to a bunch of CGI bullshit and hating Hillary Clinton. One of the most fucking direct attacks on all of Western culture was after the assassination of Soleimani. Who was it, the Iranian leader that was just like, who are we going to assassinate in America? Like SpongeBob? Like, that was the most devastating insult you can possibly imagine. It was so true, too. Like, who are we going to assassinate? Spider-Man? SpongeBob? It's like, oof. They got us. They got us on that one. We got nothing. We got absolutely nothing. It's a mid culture. It's a mediocre culture.
Use the computer to mark up the size of the account.
But Rob, have you tried the new McDurpadoo that comes in an adult Happy Meal? I probably would try it because I love McDonald's as well. Because I myself am mid. I myself am. So what's this friendship triangle that everyone's talking about? Well, Jay, I'm glad you asked. The friendship triangle is a revolutionary, two-dimensional, triangular-shaped, tiered, pay-to-play friendship access and clout distribution system. It's only available here on this channel.
You can count
join
on
the
me
friendship
and
triangle.
Good old Rob
there we go.
Talk you through all this.
Thank you very much, Dimitri, for gifting a sub to Jay from Florida. Well, Jay, look at that. You're in. You're in right away. Welcome to the Friendship Triangle. If you want to join, it's a friendship opportunity. And if you want to join, the way you do it is subscribe to this channel. You can gift subs, and when you gift up over 5 subs,
good old Rob to talk you through all this.
That moves you up into the elite level of the Friendship Triangle. This is where the clout is more I can't even think of the word. The clout is more condensed in this area, okay? It's more potent. I'm fucking losing it. American culture is buying your way into friendship triangles. That's right. And it's more concentrated. And it's not a cult. First and foremost, that's important to point out. It's not a cult. And it's not a pyramid scheme. Again, it's right in the name, the friendship triangle.
You can count on me. You're
not a
good
pyramid.
old Rob to talk you through all this.
Oh man, thank you,
You can count on
Miragons.
me. You're gonna have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Plunger Man, thank you for the gifted sub. Miragons, thank you for a gifted sub. And Sean Me, thank you for a gifted sub as well. Very, very kind of you. We recently had a West Coast Triangle meetup, and the west part of the triangle is so strong right now. It's just really amazing seeing images of these like TRRS meetups that have been going on. It's honestly heartwarming for me to see that kind of stuff. Paying my penance for derailing everything with Goose Talk. It's okay. I probably share some of the blame for that as well, Miragons. That's the main takeaway, though. Okay, it's not a cult. It's not a pyramid scheme. You join by subscribing to the channel. And listen, we're all going through stuff right now. All right, it's this kind of late capitalist neoliberal hellscape that we're all living in. We're all atomized. We're isolated from one another. We don't have community anymore. We don't have friendship anymore. But you can't, it doesn't have to be that way though. You can have those things. And when you subscribe to this channel, you become part of a wonderful community. And not only are you my friend, when you subscribe to this channel and join the revolutionary friendship triangle system, friendship access opportunity, not only are you my friend, but you're friends with everyone else in the community as well. And if you simply, go out and talk to some of your other friends and family and recruit them to join the community, well, that moves you up and down into the tiered system as well, into that elite level. And really important to point out as well that if your friends and family, if anyone in your life ever says like, what is this friendship triangle? I don't think you should be involved in this. It seems kind of scammy. It seems like kind of a cult. It seems like a scheme. Well, that's what we call a toxic person, okay? That's what we call a toxic person. You don't need people like that in your life. And I'm actually doing you a favor by encouraging you to just completely cut those people out of your life. Because you don't need that family anymore. You have a new family. You have new friends now. You don't need those people. Why do they not want you to be happy? Is that it? Do they not want you to be happy? Do you want to be friends with someone that doesn't want you to be happy? Come on. Anyway, that's what the friendship triangle is, for anyone that was curious. And there is a close to a hype train as well that's about to start. Your family low-key fell off. That's right. It is malarkey. It is malarkey. When someone tells you not to be involved in a community that gives your life meaning, that makes you happy, what's with that? Family is mid as fuck. Like, let's be honest here.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Calling my mom now. John, thank you for the tier 1 sub.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
And 10,000 sandwiches, thank you for the gifted sub as well. Very kind of you. Thank you. Can we make this triangle into some kind of 3-dimensional shape? I would say no to that. No. Listen, we're going to get back to this speech in just a moment. Like, again, if you want a visual representation for what this is, Jesus Christ. If you want a visual representation, cringe plus your family is mid plus you have no clout plus ratio. Thank you. If you want a visual representation, like, we don't need to dwell on this, okay? We don't need to dwell on this. But just in case you were curious, since there's some people in the community, in the chat today that aren't familiar with this system, if you need a little visual aid for what the friendship triangle is, this is just a way to explain it. It's pretty easy to understand. Clearly it's 2 dimensions. Any more dimensions is malarkey. That's true. So these are the people, these are the non-subscribers, the lurkers, right? They're on the outside looking in. They have no access to any of this clout, nor to the friendship with me or with anyone else in the community. Okay? When you do subscribe, you get into that base level. You can gift subs to move up and down into the chaos zone where Lodane operates. Many people are very happy in the chaos zone. Many of you are very happy, and that's totally fine. And then if you gift 5+ subs, you end up in that elite level of the friendship triangle. That's when you're the closest to me personally. That's when we're the friends. And that's where, of course, the clout, the trickle-down clout is the most concentrated as well. Triangles are fire. Pyramids are mid. That's why they're called pyramids. Thank you. That's exactly right. So, you know, if you were wondering what the friendship triangle system is, that's what it is. My family are fascists. One of them was literally praising the new Italian PM. Very gross. That does sound gross, Frug. That does sound gross, and that's exactly why you should join this community. You don't need that family. You have a new family now. And you can get that with just $5 per month, which is nothing. You could lose $5 in a month and barely even notice that it was gone. Or if you have a Amazon Prime account, you can use your Prime account to convert that to a free Twitch subscription, which is, it's literally free. And it gets you involved into this system. The inner circle of the triangle at the elite level. That is correct. Yeah, that's how that works. That's how that works, yes. So for any non-subscribers or lurkers that are watching, you know, this is what the friendship triangle is. I do encourage people to join. Don't do it because I told you to, right? Don't do it because I told you to. Do it because it's the right decision for you. Do it because it's going to make your life better. Do it because it's going to make you happy. Do it because it's going to make you feel connected to other human beings, which is something that we're all missing out on right now. Do it because your family says not to. Throw out your mid family.
Have good old Rob.
Join a family that's absolutely fire. Thank you. And thank you very much, Squatch, for gifting a sub to Frug. Werner, welcome, Frug. Look at that. You're in. That's the generosity that people display here in this community. And Old Dutch just posted this in the Discord server. Coincidence? Do you believe in coincidences? Bio families are mid and cringe. Thank you. I'm often saying this. Folks. Okay. Let's get back to this. I mean, I always wonder if I should just wait till... Okay, let's just get back to this speech. But if you want to know what the friendship triangle system is, that's what it is. Please join. Please subscribe. And if not, it's fine. But it's your own. It's your own problem, right? Don't come to me later when you neglected the opportunity to subscribe. Don't come to me later and say like, "Well, what? I'm atomized. I'm isolated. I don't have friends. I don't have community." Well, I'm sorry. I gave you that opportunity and you didn't want to listen. So that sounds more like a you problem at that point. Okay. Let's get back to VJ.
Take it easy. You'll have a lot less stress. Relax. You don't need a Monroe Doctrine. You don't need a global Monroe Doctrine. We don't need global NATO. We don't need US warships in the South China Sea. We don't need that. We don't need any of that. We don't want war. We want peace. Let me tell you something strange that I just learned recently, and I'm embarrassed to say I just learned it recently. I know that the United States spends almost $1 trillion every year on war making. Almost $1 trillion.
It's truly almost unfathomable to think about what that money could be going to. it breaks your brain thinking about that $1 trillion per year. What that could be going to, there could be no more homelessness. There could be no more poverty. You could have amazing public services, amazing public transport. It's truly astounding to think about, isn't it?
You know what the budget of the United Nations is? You know what the budget of the United Nations? United Nations is supposed to be an institution, a global institution to build peace. The United Nations annual budget, my friends, is $3 billion. $3 billion to build peace. $1
city's gonna have clean water
just by the United States to produce war. You can't eat in this country. You can't find a house to live in this country.
It's amazing too. It's like with all the weapons, the money that is spent on weapons. Like I was pointing out the missile tests by the DPRK yesterday, and they say, "How dare they test weapons?" Whoa! When it's literally like our whole government exists just to transfer money from the money printer in the basement of the Capitol building of Washington D.C. into the pockets of weapons manufacturers and their CEOs and shareholders. And they're like, "How dare they test a missile?" And it's like, what the fuck? Like, they're a sovereign country. Like, why can't they do like whatever they want? It's pretty amazing, the audacity.
You can't go to school and study without going to debt in this country, but you can bomb any country in the world. Well done. Well done, guys. Great. The greatest country in the world is the greatest country, not because there's no hunger in it, but because you can destroy any other country in the world. Well done. Those are your values. The values of a country are not to be measured by its constitution. The values of a country are to be measured by its budget. And the United States spends half its budget trying to destroy the world. It spends half its money trying to destroy the world and then wags the finger and talks about democracy. Do you see how strange this looks from outside the United States? Do you see how weird this is? People look at this and think, who's this guy Biden? This is crazy. He's mediocre. He's wagging his finger. He's telling us about democracy. And right outside my window is a warship that's ready to destroy my family. Bizarre. It's bizarre and uncomfortable and painful.
This MF fucking hates America, and I love it.
On behalf of another process. You see, we don't want to deal with humanity as a security problem, as a problem that requires war, as a problem that requires policing. There are real dilemmas of humanity.
The same, Squatch.
Those dilemmas of humanity need to be transcended with a politics of love. Socialism is a politics of love. Socialism is not about hate. It's not about fear. Socialism is about love. These mediocre imperialists fear love. They promote hate. They promote hatred. They don't understand love. They don't understand compassion. They don't know what it means to stay awake every night trying to make sure everybody's got something to eat. They don't understand that. I'm speaking to you from the process called the International People's Assembly. We are about 500 political, social organizations around the world. What we're committed to is expanding our ranks. We want to build our movements. You see, the point for us, and this is where we live by observing, accompanying, amplifying revolutionary developments in Venezuela and Cuba. We amplify, we accompany, we learn from, because we are.
This guy's cool. Too bad he'd never come on this show and take a big sip of coffee. And again, VJ agreed to come back on the show a couple weeks ago. I wasn't able to do it because I had to take a bit of time off, but VJ will be coming back on the show. Okay? He's a friend of the show. He's my personal friend, and that means he's your personal friend too, because that's how friendship transference works. He's part of the friendship triangle as well. I made this clear to him before, so If you join the system, you're friends with VJ as well. Still is inspiring and informative to listen to. Yeah, I know Moustache Imperial, seriously, like, we talk about it a lot. Great communicators, you know? There's a lot of people that have great ideas. Will you ask VJ the Goose question? Yes. There's a lot of people that have great ideas and the correct opinions, but can you communicate those opinions to people effectively in an interesting and non-academic and non-boring way? That is the gift, you know? And that's something VJ absolutely excels at. That's why I love Parenti as well. Communicators, great communicators. You know, I'm really inspired by people like that. And it's something that I hope to one day, you know, must master to the same extent.
Understand, the point is not to criticize mediocrity alone. What's the point of being obsessed with them? The real question is, what are we doing? Are we going to the people and saying, look at them, they're so terrible? No, that's not going to lift anybody up. We go to the people and say, this is what we want to do. We want to build. We want to build with love. We want socialism. You see, my friends, many years ago, my great hero, Ho Chi Minh, he's a great hero of mine, and if you clap for him, I'll be really happy.
I would love to read that.
Comrade
VJ
Ho Chi
edited
Minh.
a book about Ho Chi Minh. I would love to read that.
Ho Chi Minh, we will fight, we will win.
I'll take socialism with fries and a Diet Coke, please. And that's a big part of my political program at Prada X Blood, which is that when we under socialism, we will be nationalizing the fountain Diet Coke formula. We're going to give that to the people. That belongs to us, okay? It's a big part of my politics.
Some Italian communists came to see Ho Chi Minh the year before he died. And as with many people, they came to offer their solidarity with the struggle of the Vietnamese against the imperialist war machine. I know you've experienced this kind of solidarity because people came to Ho Chi Minh and they said, what can we do to help the Vietnamese revolution? That's
This is
a
our
sincere
revolution,
question
notes slow down.
coming from these Italian comrades. They met Ho Chi Minh in Hanoi. And if you know anything about Ho Chi Minh's life, he lived in a very humble hut right through his life. He met people there. He would take out from his pocket, I don't have one here, but he would twirl a cigarette around, you know. And he used to always say, my one concession to US imperialism is I like Lucky Strikes. So very sincerely, these Italian comrades said to him, how do we help the revolution in Vietnam? And Ho Chi Minh, smiling at them, said,
They're toasted.
go home and make a revolution. Ho Chi Minh said, go home and make a revolution. Comrades, friends, comrades, listen to me. It's one thing for us to come to our comrades from Venezuela and Cuba and say, we're with you, comrade. La lucha sigue. It's one thing for us to say, we're with you. Chavez vive, Fidel vive. But what are we going to do?
And implicit in this, when he talks about this, implicit, when you talk about building something, building revolution, obviously the biggest part of that is having a left-wing Twitch channel where you talk about this kind of revolutionary content. I mean, there you can join an organization, you can support, you know, you can organize your workplace, you can have a socialist Twitch channel, any one of these things. It's all really important. And I know he doesn't explicitly say that, but I think implicit to that, that's a big part of it. And we shouldn't lose sight of that.
It's one thing to say, we stand with you. And it's another thing for you to say, I'm going to get this mediocre shit out of my lives.
He's clearly implying that. Thank you. Actually, you help socialism by sitting in the imperial court and pointing fingers at all the other actually existing socialist countries. And you criticize them and say what they're doing isn't real socialism. That's the best way to do it. And obviously that's one thing that he's not saying as well. I think he very clearly endorses this program, and he quite literally does.
I'm gonna get this mediocre shit out of my lives. You have to build power. We want to win. We are not socialists in order to just criticize. We are socialists because we want to win. And you can win. You can win. You must win. You must win. My friends, socialism might be love. Socialism might be a process. Socialism might be wise, but it has to also be secured.
After Ho Chi Minh told those Italian POCs to make their own revolution, NATO installed dozens of Gladio weapons caches. Seriously. Fucking evil bastards. Evil bastards. The people that were behind that.
It's not a choice that comes before us. Rosa Luxemburg said, it's either socialism or barbarism. You know, it's really interesting. Every time an American president takes office, you always think this is the worst it's ever going to be. You know, you remember when Reagan was there. Oh my God, it can't get worse than Reagan. And really, I mean, honestly, could it ever have? And then arrives, well, Bush 2. And people said, it can't get worse than Bush 2. Now, you're going to think in your heads that next comes Trump. It can't get worse than Bush 2. And then you get Obama. Wow. Every time there's a US president, it seems to get worse and worse.
Obama was bad,
Every time
folks.
there's a US president, it seems to get worse and worse. So
He's not
when
good.
Rosa
Not a good
Luxemburg
person.
said many years
Bad
ago,
guy.
it's socialism or barbarism.
We don't like
when
him.
Trump was the president, I thought, this is it. This is barbarism. The choice has been made. There's no more choice between
Can't
socialism
forget
and
Slick Willie
barbarism.
either.
This is barbarism. But friends, the choice is not made.
He's
Because
poor
humans
Trump.
are obstinate.
You don't
And
like him
we
because
have
of the
to
tan
fight.
suit?
And we will fight. And we will fight because socialism isn't a choice, Rosa. Socialism is not a choice, Rosa. Socialism is a necessity. Thank you very much.
Great shit. Great shit. We love it. We love VJ, friend of the stream, and my personal friend. Thanks for watching today, everyone. I'm going to take off pretty soon, okay? You know, if we could, and again, folks, I'm not going to be a hard ass. I'm not. If we could get to 20 subs, that would be pretty cool. I'm just saying that it would be cool, and that's all, okay? I'm not directing people to do anything. I gave a pretty hard pitch about the whole friendship triangle system and everything. I'm not going to go harder than that. I'm simply saying that it would be cool, and that's all. So thanks for watching today, everyone. It was another fun one.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Miragons, thank you for the gifted sub. Very much appreciated. Thank you. I know Miragons feels bad for all the arguing we've been doing about the goose stuff. And if you're just tuning in, you say, what does that mean, goose stuff? What are you talking about? We don't need to get into it. Let's not even get into it, okay? Don't worry about it. It's not important.
You've just become an elite member of the
goodness.
Friendship Triangle.
Oh my. Dr. Maggot? Dr. Maggot. Thank you, Dr. Maggot, for the 6 gifted subs. That's so kind of you. I really, really appreciate that, Dr. Maggot. Thank you. Goodness gracious. the level of support that people have shown this channel overall, and just over in the last couple of weeks especially, truly is fucking amazing. It really, really is fucking amazing, folks. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. And I know it seems that I don't appreciate it when I have to go on and log in here every day and still keep doing the same shit and still keep trying to guilt people and pressure people into gifting subs. I know it seems like I don't appreciate it, but that's just what I'm forced to do on this platform, because this whole sub thing is gamified, and I'm forced now to be on this endless content hamster wheel, funneling money up to literally the richest man in the world, Jeff Bezos. So I know it seems like I don't appreciate it sometimes, but I do. I promise that I do. I really, really do. Thank you. Enjoy never being allowed to make a 7:30 split. I do enjoy it. Yeah, I think it's wonderful. I think it's absolutely wonderful. Okay, who are we rating here? I saw Hildebeest was in the chat earlier. Our friend Hildebeest was in there. Perhaps we could raid Hildebeest. We got Dan Simpson. We got Left Flank Vets. We got DJ Mule. We got Antifada. Love the Goose and VJ content. Squatch, I'm happy you had my back on this, okay? Not a lot of community support, as much as I just talked about how like people in the community have been supporting me so much. When it comes to this like Goose discourse, the community kind of abandoned me, frankly. The community kind of abandoned me, and Squatch Drew, I appreciate that you stuck by my side on this. Rob, it is okay. We understand that you feel the need to explain yourself, but truly not necessary. We love our neurodivergent dad. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Dr. Maggot. I really appreciate it. Thank you. I will not support your foolhardy quest to die by Goose. I'm gonna prove to you all. I'm gonna prove to you all that I can do this.
You can count on me. You're going to have good old Rob to talk you through all this.
Ms. Squatch, thank you very much for the 9 months of Tier 1. Look at that. The whole Squatch family is supporting today. I hope Snacks is there watching the stream as well. Famous TRRS Discord celeb Snacks. It's just common sense. A goose can't defeat a grown adult. They can fight children and old men. I mean, this is like... I don't see what's so controversial about this. You've got to fight to win. You got to fight to win. You don't fight not to lose. That's a recipe for disaster.